Hey, Original OC with you on the Watch Colony channel. Also, dual casting, simulcasting on the Original OC channel. What's up, guys? It is Election Day in the United States, the 5th of November, Tuesday, the 5th of November, 2024. Broadcasting live from OC Patio. If you don't believe me, take a look. It is an absolutely gorgeous day today. I'm going to do a quick live stream, quick afternoon stream to talk about my favorite topic, Patek Philippe and the Nautilus collection. So we're going to have a fun show, quick show. We're going to try and limit it to 4 hours. Let's try and limit the show to 4 hours today. Let's see who we have in the chat. By the way, if you're watching on the Watch Colony channel, upvote and tell your friends. We have a goal of hitting 1,000 subscribers on the Watch Colony channel by the end of November. Please, guys, make it happen. Tell your friends, post on Instagram, post on Facebook, get the word out. We are trying to spread the word about the Watch Colony. If you're watching on the Watch Colony, please hit the upvote button. If you're watching on the Original OC channel, please do the same. I need to drop the link to the chat here, just to a few folks. Boom, did that. All right. Cool. People are trickling in fast and furious. Love to see it. By the way, on the Original OC channel, we have a goal of 10 super chats, guys. 10 super chats. Any amount will do in the first hour. So don't make me beg. Just, you know, if you're watching the stream, if you're a member, I really appreciate it. For those of you who want to support great content, find another channel. But if you're okay with mediocre content, if you're okay with subpar content, then please show your support by the most meager and small of super chats. Logan Hall's grill streams. He did it. He's back. He's back in the first position. Love to see that. The link to join the panel, by the way, is pinned on the Original OC channel. Check it out. Just go there, click on the link. Boom, you're in the panel. Kevin Hawthorne from Lakeland, Florida. He's watching us on the Watch Colony channel. Very cool. Upvote, please, on that channel. Buckley coming in quickly and with spice, as always. Buckley jumps in and says, no, it is not the most iconic sports watch of all time. Everyone knows the answer is the Rolex Submariner. You know, I actually didn't ask what the most iconic sports watch is of all time. I asked, what is it? Is the Patek Philippe Nautilus the most iconic sports luxury watch of all time? You know, does that change your mind, Buckley? Does that change anybody's mind if I create a distinction between sports watch and sports luxury watch? And don't be surprised if during this show OC provides an editorial and he comes out in favor of Terry Stern's decision to discontinue the steel Nautilus reference 5711. That might have been one of the most genius moves of all time. Let me know if you agree or disagree in the chat. Rose is here. Rose is watching on the original OC channel. I was the first upvote. Boom. Thank you, Rose. Let's get to 10 upvotes on the original OC channel. Let's make sure we have at least 10 upvotes on the Watch Colony channel. Earls is in here. What's up, Earls? We got SE. SE did a fantastic job yesterday. Great debate with SE, with Buckley, with Sean about Patek Philippe and the comments made by Terry Stern. So much so that lots of other YouTube channels were watching and wanted to continue the conversation on their own channels, which is cool. Nothing wrong with that. Shout out to those other channels. Got Doc Mick in Florida. What's up, Doc Mick? Good to have you with us. Doc Mick is watching us on the Watch Colony channel. If you're watching on the Watch Colony channel, upvote that live stream. Yeah, damn you, Rose. You were the first upvote. It's okay. It's okay to be the first upvote. It's okay to lose to Rose. Lots of people do. Curlock 2024. Listen, there will be no political talk on today's show. If it's election day today, be proud to be in America. Be proud to have the privilege to vote for our leaders. Be proud to live in a representative democracy or a democratic republic or whatever you want to call it. And it's also cool to be proud of the person for whom you voted. But I'll just say this, regardless of the person for whom you voted, the candidate for whom you cast your vote, be more proud to be a part of the process, be more proud to be an American, and let's all come together after the result to celebrate what a great country we have and the process that allows us to participate and vote for our elected leaders. And let's unite. Let's unite behind whoever wins and show them the respect they deserve and pull for our country. That's my editorial for today. Goldfinger 0808. Boom. Thank you very much, Goldfinger. Vamal Nayir's in the chat. What's up, Vamal? He says, OC, is this a ball washing apology episode for Patek Philippe? I need the cues to comment accordingly. No, there's no narrative here. I think after we've been analyzing the recent comments of Terry Stern, I went back and I watched a few other interviews, some video interviews that he did back in 2022 and 2021. And it's clear to me that he was just as, I'm not going to use the word arrogant, but maybe self-centered is a fair word. He had the same personality 2-3 years ago that he did today. And it's clear that he's very proud of the role that he plays as leader of Patek Philippe. He takes a lot of credit for the role that he plays. And it was his decision to say, listen, I don't want to be defined by the stainless steel Nautilus. And he's the one who said, listen, I'm going to put an end to the production of the stainless steel 5711. You know why? Because that way, the people who purchased that model between 2006, the reference 5711, between 2006 and 2021, those people are going to have something special. And production is going to be capped. Their values are going to have a floor, and the values are only going to go up from there. and I'm going to ensure that that 5711 is the most iconic stainless steel sports luxury timepiece of all time. Now, you may disagree with that, but I think that's what he wanted to do, and I think he may have very well accomplished that. What say you? Doc Mick in Florida upvoted. Thank you very much. What do you mean, good afternoon? It's the evening in Germany. Nope, Germany is not world time. New York City is world time. It's the center of the universe right here in New York City in the Eastern time zone. But good evening to you, SC. Thanks again for popping on yesterday. It was a great discussion. And I'm more proud of the fact that despite the very heated perspectives and the heated conversation among all the participants, that we did it with respect, that we did it with class, that we did it with grace. And regardless of whatever feelings we have, we walked away respecting each other and, knowing that we're all a part of the same family. And nothing should come in between us. Your feeling about Terry Stern or your feeling about Patek Philippe, nothing should separate or impact the great friendships that we have and the great bonds that we build with each other in this community. And listen, I'm going to go one step further and say that applies to people who participate in the election process too, regardless of the candidate for whom you voted. Don't let the opinions about how someone voted or the rationale or the reasons by why someone voted for somebody versus somebody else ever come in between you and another friend or a family member. Let's family and friendships are more important than political affiliations. SE is here with the first super chat. Love it. Guys, we have a goal of 10 super chats in the first hour. So let's do it first. That's right. Beat Logan Hall to the first super. From now on, guys, it is something cool to cast the first super chat. €2 from SE. And he's sticking it to Logan. Beat you to it. Love it. Love it. Stephen Al's in the chat. Hi, Ose. Do you have a preference for which channel we view you on? No, I do not. I do not. View me on the OC channel. I'm simulcast here, but primary channel is the Watch Colony channel. I really want to get people to watch that channel and to get us to 1,000 subscribers. That's the next kind of cool milestone that we have as a channel. So I'm happy to do my part there. But I understand people want to be members and they also want to super chat and have their comments highlighted. So if you want to do that on the original OC channel. Hey, watch on 2 tabs. That's what I say. But I can't force you to vote to watch on one channel or the other. Watch on both. How about that? Boston Collectors in the chat. Can we stop using the categories dress watch and sports watch? I propose 2 new categories of fundamental or luxury. That's an interesting perspective. Yeah, I mean, maybe we should be stratifying watches by maybe how expensive they are. I mean, I do think there's a dress watch category. You don't think there's a dress watch category? I don't know. I think dress watch and sports watch work pretty well. I mean, I guess you could say casual watch or daily watch, luxury watch. I mean, but what is a luxury watch? You can have a luxury daily, you can have a luxury dress watch, a luxury sporty watch. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? I don't think you're going to be able to get rid of the category of dress watch because you know it when you see it. And I think sports watch is also something that when you see it, you kind of recognize it and you think, oh, it has a metal bracelet. All right, that's kind of a sporty watch. I mean, I'm open to different naming structures. ACDC says, so Rolex is not luxury? No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying that at all. MJ's in the chat. He says, Boston Collector, how about the 2 categories of pedestrian or baller? I like that. Man. Good people in the chat today. God, got the heavy hitters. MJ, Boston, Rosé, Goldfinger, Vamal. Yeah. What a group. Holy shit. There's 50 people watching this garbage? Man, that's insane. That's absolutely insane. There's 50 people watching on YouTube across the Watch Colony channel, the original OC channel. We got 3 watching on Tinder. And shout out to the one lonely person watching on Grinder. I wonder who that is. If you're watching on Grinder, could you just jump over to YouTube and identify yourself? I'd like to know who you are. Uh, got Rufus in the chat. We got JDMTL. What's up, JD? Upvoted. Thank you. Love Patek Philippe. Hot and spicy. Thank you, JD. Got some car chat going on. Hey, if you want to use the chat to talk cars, go for it. But we do have a goal of getting 10 super chats, so help us out there. Let's get to 10, and then we can put that goal behind us. The Mall jumps in with 2 Canadian. Appreciate it. OC Rosé 2028, the ticket that we can get behind. I think Rosé would want to be head of the ticket. Oh, or maybe he's okay being vice president. Rosé, are you okay being vice? You could be like Dick Cheney. You could run everything, and I'll be the figurehead. Actually, OC is running for governor of the great state of New Jersey 2025. I have submitted my paperwork. We are forming an exploratory committee. OC for governor 2025. So you'll have your chance to make sure that OC guides the great state of New Jersey in the right direction. ACDC, it's like he hates having the Nautilus. He's referring to Terry Stern, CEO of Patek Philippe, but yet he can't do a better watch design and keeps coming back to the Genta design with his Frankenstein versions. I think ACDC is referring to the Patek Philippe Cubitus as a Frankenstein version of the Nautilus. What say you? Do you agree? Got Ray in the chat. What's up, Ray? Got whole milk. I love me some whole milk. My preferred version, my preferred flavor of milk in my coffee is whole milk. I mean, I like cream. I like half and half. A lot of places don't have that. If they don't have those things, I go with whole milk. Boston Collector says Patek is made for elitists. He is allowed to tell people to F off. I agree. Let them eat cake, is what I say. Best watch to wear to a political riot. Hey, there will be no riots. There will be no demonstrations. There may be peaceful demonstrations, but there will be no riots or violence of any kind, guys. Come on. That's not appropriate. Boston Collector says dress watch is not a category because a Nautilus or Royal Oak is used 100% of the time as a dress watch replacement. Do you agree with that statement? Do you wear a Nautilus or a Royal Oak as a replacement for a dress watch? It's tough. We may be civil war may be on our hands, and not because of the Nautilus, but because of these categories. ACDC says no. Keep it dress watch, sports watch. There you go. ACDC doesn't have the definitive word, but that's how he wants it. Hey, Gatsby in the chat with a 5 Canadian super chat. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. That's the 3rd super chat of the show. Now, this is an awesome watch. Looks like they rounded off the Cubitus. Yeah, they rounded it off. They made it a little bit more curvy, a little bit more 70s-ish. What do you think of this design? This is this is like they took the Cubitus and smoothed it out, made it a little bit more elegant. Thank you for the 3rd super chat of the show. Guys, we have 39 minutes to go. We need 7 more super chats in the next 39 minutes. Help me out. Hey, Billy Jeans. He's identified himself as the Soul Grinder Watcher. Thank you, Billy Jeans. Appreciate it. Oh, I was curious. I was curious who that was. Let's keep the political talk very lighthearted, guys. Very lighthearted. If you're in the United States, if you haven't already voted, get out to the polls. Let your voices be heard. Do your civic duty. Doc Mix says, "Yeah, we need a stainless steel rounded Cubitus." I like the 57. Do I love it? I don't know. I think this is a case of. This is a case. I mean, I never really liked the Royal. I didn't like the Royal Oak when I saw it for the first time either. I think maybe I'm being manipulated, and I'm being influenced by peer pressure. I think that's what it is. I think peer pressure. People who are collectors and enthusiasts, they say, "Hey, the Nautilus is a cool watch," and I think to myself, you know what? If everybody else around me thinks it's a cool watch, maybe it's a cool watch. Maybe the design is good. You know, maybe the first time I saw the Nautilus, I'm like, that's a little weird. Maybe it's kind of like 70s ish. But maybe the more I look at it, the more I like it because I'm being brainwashed by fellow collectors. I think maybe it's the YouTubers. I think maybe the YouTubers are influencing me. If the YouTubers like it, they're like, hey, I'm like, hey, I've developed a paranormal relationship with Britt Pierce. And she's like, hey, I like the Nautilus. And I'm like, maybe I should like it too, because Britt likes it. Maybe that's what's going on. Buckley, coming back to the Submariner here, is anyone arguing against the Submariner being the most iconic watch of all time? Let's look at this Buckley doubling down. It's not only the most iconic sports watch, he wants to dub it the most iconic watch of all time. I thought we covered this in year 1 of watch collecting. Yeah, when you take that class, Watch Collecting 101, the professors there pretty much tell you that the Rolex Submariner is the most iconic watch of all time. Fall in line, and drink the Kool-Aid. Cloud Ken is watching. Cloud Ken's watching on the original OC channel. Can I suggest you stop with the dual casting? It looks like you guys can't decide who should start a stream, and so went the Democratic route. No, it's not that at all. It's not that at all. No, I'm not sure why you think that, Cloud Ken. As a matter of fact, this Saturday I may be doing a stream on 4 channels simultaneously. My channel, Boston Collector, Diego M, and the Watch Colony channel. So there you go. We may simulcast on 4 channels. I don't think there's anything wrong. I mean, we want to make sure that people have choices. If they want to super chat and highlight their comments, they can do it on the original OC channel. But we also want to promote the Watch Colony channel. We have a goal of getting to 1,000 subscribers on the Watch Colony channel. So it's also good to get viewing hours. Viewing hours are good too. By the way, both channels don't play equally in the algorithm. You know, I think the Watch Colony actually gets promoted more in the algorithm than my personal channel, which is cool. I don't mind that at all. Whole Milk says, I like the simulcast because I can't tell if Boston Collector has blocked me or not. That's right. We can see we're pulling up comments across both channels. So if you're blocked on one channel, you may not be blocked on the other. Good point, Whole Milk. Got BW, also from Florida, in the chat. Good afternoon. Hope you're doing well, BW. Buckley here with a watch joke. 20 people walk into a watch store. 15 ask for Rolex. Of the 15, 9 ask for the sub, 4 ask for the Daytona, and 1 for the GMT. It's not even a question. Hey, Boston Collector, what's up?
Hey, how's it going?
It's going good.
Is my headphones okay?
Yeah, you're a little low. Let
Okay.
me
A
hold on a
little
second.
low.
Increased you
Thank you.
increased you by 50%. We want to be able to hear Boston
That's
Collect.
way too loud.
There you go. Oh, that's perfect. If it's too loud, guys, let me know in the chat. Luchabetic Marks in the chat. Quadrophenia. Uh, just dropping random Who albums in the chat. Okay. By the way, Mark, I don't want to give it away, but we may be doing an unboxing soon. We may be doing an unboxing.
All right.
That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. Gatsby, $5 Canadian super chat. That's super chat number 4. Do you know how many United States-based Patek authorized dealers have received the Cubitus pieces so far? The reason why I'm asking is that none of the 80s in Canada have seen one yet. Is that true? I think almost every authorized dealer in the United States, I think most of the authorized dealers have received Patek Philippe Cubitus exhibition models.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd say 100%.
I say 100%. If I don't
I
know
haven't heard
why
of
there would
any
be an
that
issue.
don't.
Yeah, I don't know why there'd be an issue with the Canadian dealers not having Cubitus pieces. That would be
Maybe they
strange
don't
to me.
get the Cubitus right away. Maybe they're waiting until they actually get allocation. They might have rolled out to the US first for the first batch. I don't know.
Yep.
Point of fact.
CN asks, "Cheers, OC. Any vibes regarding your Cubitus allocation?" I have zero hope that I would be allocated a Cubitus. Zero. Even though I
Oh,
was
yeah.
one of the first people to say that I wanted the two-tone one, I'm pretty sure that there's zero chance I will get one in the first 2 years.
Mhm. Yep.
Have you requested one, Boston Collector?
No, I've requested not to have one.
Requested not to have one. Although I was with you in Beverly Hills when you
Hmm.
tried on all 3 models,
Yep.
and the assessment at that time was that it was the platinum model that actually looked the best on you because watches that have a little bit more visual height to them
Hmm.
look better on your wrist, just
Hmm.
based on the shape of your wrist. So
Yeah, and I think that one, because on the strap, it's better, you know.
yep. You already have a stainless steel Nautilus. You have the 5980.
Hmm.
Great
Yes, I
watch. The
don't need
first
anything. No rush.
That was the first Patek Philippe you ever purchased, correct?
That is correct.
And you purchased that from the secondary market. You couldn't, the idea of waiting. I mean, I'm sure you tried, and you tried
Well,
hard.
technically, it was from a authorized dealer, but it was a
Right.
second-hand watch.
Yep.
Yeah.
Got it. So that good distinction. You purchased it from
Yeah.
a authorized dealer, but it was a pre-owned
Yeah.
watch. By the way, there's some news in the watch world today. Vacheron Constantin officially, as of today, launched their certified pre-owned offering. So shout out to Vacheron Constantin. They have followed in Rolex's footsteps. They have now introduced their own certified pre-owned program. All of the authentication and servicing is done by Watchfinder, which is part of Richemont.
Hmm.
And Vacheron is part of the Richemont group, so that makes sense. And those watches, it's not quite clear if those watches will be available in boutiques only or in authorized Vacheron retailers or in online or a combination of those 3. But they did announce that their program is officially rolling out. And by the way, not too far away, it is not official, but I'm predicting here today that the certified pre-owned program for Audemars Piguet is probably within 6 months of being officially rolled out. They've been working on it for over 2 years, and I don't know what's taking them so long, but I have it on good authority that they've recently hired a new executive to run certified pre-owned for AP, and that executive came from VC. Actually, that executive came from the marketing department of Vacheron Constantin, and he will be formally rolling out the AP certified pre-owned program probably in the first or second quarter of 2025. 25.
Hmm.
What do you think of a certified pre-owned program for AP, Boston?
The issue always with these brands are, will it increase the number of desirable watches, or is it just going to be a list of watches that are undesirable that people have traded in? Because I feel like Rolex is a little bit like that even. It's like you look through what they have. They don't have any Pandas. They don't have any, like you go down the list and you're not really gaining access to the desirable watches. And even if they happen to have one, it's gone quick or it goes to a preferred client. So really, it's not, you're getting a lot of like maybe C tier pieces, A, B, C. So like, are they going to have a steel 222 as a certified pre-owned? Probably not. They just didn't make enough, like of their good watches. They're not going to have an Everest in that program.
Mm-hmm.
And if they do, they're going to jack the price way up because they have so few of them. So it really isn't like, I don't know. I don't know if it helps a collector or if it, the only thing that could help is if they are taking more pieces and actually paying decent money. That's helpful, but usually they don't.
Appreciate that. Welcome SE to the panel. SE, thank you for being on.
Hey, good evening.
And thank you for the super chat. Link doesn't work. Well, it works now. Thank you for this €2 super chat, guys. I think we're now halfway to our goal of 10 super chats. We have 27 minutes left, guys. So please vote. Please super chat. Any amount will do. We have a time limit, so please super chat. Any thoughts on SE on and I'll ask this pose this question to you, Boston, as well. The decision that Terry Stern made in 2021 when he announced that he was discontinuing the steel 5711. I went back and I watched some interviews from that time,
Mm-hmm.
and he said that he did it in order to basically lock in the values of the Patek Philippe 5711 for current owners, to basically set a floor. Like, in other words, production is capped. We know that we're not going to be producing any more steel Nautiluses, time and date references, and therefore the people that have them now can rest assured that the value will never go down. What do you agree? Number one, do you agree that that's something that he should have done, and was it the right strategy?
I actually have to preface, I thought I'd pull a Diego, like working out and muting myself and then just chiming in whenever, but I think that's not gonna work. So, hey Boston, great to be on with you on the panel again. Last time we were on the same panel, we both were hoping for Patek not to come out with a version on a bracelet, and they actually did, right? So
yeah.
they're always in for a surprise. But to comment on OC's question, I think that's very reasonable, and that's a good move. But AC/DC said before that he actually hated the Nautilus and discontinued it for that reason, and it's actually the opposite. He was just scared that the Nautilus would eat away from the significance of all the other pieces, which is why he discontinued it. But he came out with something that will replace the Nautilus in just the same fashion. And in contrast to AP, and then now Boston, you can elaborate on that. He came out with a new model and can introduce all the different kinds of. Oh, sorry, I'm breathing so heavy. I should have warmed down first. He can come out with all the different kinds of complications right now, all the different kinds of colors in the Cubitus, and no one will ever blame him for doing what AP is basically doing, beating the same horse. because you can always say, well, it's a new model line. So the Nautilus can easily drift off into precious metal right now and preserve its iconic status. I think that's even more important than finding a floor for the second-hand market. And the Cubitus can, well, start over for the entire brand. They will never have to face the criticism that they're just coming out with 20 more Nautiluses in a different version.
Well, I think you can look at that two ways, and I actually appreciate the way that AP does it. Like if you think about AP and you said, all right, AP when they came out with the offshore could have discontinued the Royal Oak, right? It was at that time it wasn't as popular as it is today, but they could have discontinued the Royal Oak to preserve whatever was going on, and then come out with just the offshore, right? Which is a variant of the Royal Oak. Would that be helpful to the brand? Not really, right? I think that one of the good things about AP is that they continue to push the limits and come out with new versions of that model line, the Royal Oak, that are different and give, because they make them in limited quantities, everything kind of becomes its own special thing, and you can kind of choose among the line which is your favorite. I just think that the problem for this is that it's too close to the 5711. I think it doesn't. You're giving people a lesser alternative to the 5711 as the secondary. So like, why are you? I just, it doesn't make sense to me that they would do that.
Yeah. I don't want to make it a like a conversation AP versus Patek or anything.
Yeah. No.
The only thing I'm saying,
different philosophy is what I was.
It definitely is, and I really appreciate the Royal Oak for what it is. I appreciate the Royal Oak Offshore for what it is, but the Royal Oak Offshore also had a hard start, especially because the you know why, because Gerald Genta himself actually opposed the design in the beginning.
Right.
So to discontinue during the lifetime of Gerald Genta, the Royal Oak would have been a completely like a harakiri move, and Patek has a completely different setup right now. And so you cannot really compare the Royal Oak at that time to the Nautilus right now. I think the Nautilus is ready to be not retired. They're not putting it away, but they're putting it like completely away, but on the back burner. It still serves as a carrot, so to speak, but they have a different position, and therefore, in my world, that comparison doesn't quite stick.
Yeah, I mean, would Gerald Genta be happy with the Cubitus? That's an interesting question, right?
It actually is, yes.
I don't know that he would. I mean, I think that it is kind of a derivative of his design. You know, just like he wasn't a fan of the Royal Oak Offshore. It doesn't mean it's not a good watch, right?
Oh, definitely not. And I would say he's an artist. He was an artist, and they're kind of unpredictable, and they're always, I think, very critical when it comes to someone reimagining their original work. I think that's a very, very tough task to find the approval of the original person who invented it. But I would actually go the other way around. I would say it doesn't really matter whether Gerald Genta found it nice or not. It is a nice watch, and it grew on people. That's my major point. It's not that you need to. That was my point yesterday as well. The brands don't necessarily have to give us what we want, or have to check out first whether everyone's happy. Because if they do that, it's like in the game of relationships. If you're constantly putting another person on a pedestal, running behind them, ask them if something is okay, and so on, they will lose interest in you. And the brands know that. The brands who know the game know that. And this is also why Terry Stearns said that I'm not going to the customers. He didn't mean that in a derogative way, but he actually just wanted to point out that he has trust in his path, which can be seen as being arrogant, but he might just be confident in his product or in his creation, and will trust the process that the brand is strong enough to weather the storm for as long as it takes until people, or most of the people actually, get used to a certain concept. And that happens to so many watches in Audemars Piguet and in Patek just well.
Yeah, I feel like he is, leading Patek down the path of Patek sets the market. Patek does what they want. And AP's like that sometimes. Richard Mill's definitely like that. Some of the good brand, FP Journe is definitely like that, where they do what they want and they make their watches. And we're Patek. You don't tell us. We're not gonna necessarily give you what you want just because you want it. But I think he's swimming upstream right now a little bit against the market, saying, well, we're a dress watch company, so you're going to like dress watches. And, just because you like sports watches doesn't mean we're going to make more sports watches.
And
Sorry, that's it,
You can always play hard to get in real life just as well, but you should never say it. You should never say you're entitled to it. And because he has the brand power, he has all the history, so he basically knows he can't fail. But especially then...
it's weird, Esty? I think in some ways it was a genius move to come out and say, well, the real Patek people will like this watch, and most of the people that are hating on it will never be a Patek owner. The genius aspect of it, right, is the same as their marketing, where it says this isn't for everyone, right? The idea of luxury is that not everybody is going to be a customer of Patek. They don't want everyone to be a customer of Patek. That would remove the luxury. They don't want everybody to get one watch from Patek and check off that box. They want Patek people that will continue to buy every watch that Patek produces. And I think that's a difference, where they want it to be about Patek and not about Nautilus checking a box. Right. So I think that's the idea, is that, hey, let's figure out who's really into Patek. Let's discontinue the 5711 and bring in this new thing, and we'll see. Are you asking for a Patek because you just want a Nautilus, a Gerald Genta? Do you just want a Gerald Genta? Or do you want an actual Patek?
Right. And I think you
that's
just
what they're figuring out, right?
You just uncovered one layer. I mean, all of this is guessing, our estimated guesses, and sometimes we're reading too much negativity into what someone has allegedly said, or let's say what was written about a person saying. Sometimes we're reading too much genius into something, because I still believe he was just shooting from the hip, like he always does during an interview, and he was never used to someone dissecting the sentence and really taking all the semantics apart and then confronting it right back to him. But you just uncovered one layer, and in my opinion, that is that will actually grow on us, is that they whether they really whether Gerald Genta would have loved the Cubitus or not is a very, very interesting question, but it is not a question that needs to be answered, because he actually kind of reinterpreting it that boldly close to the original was somewhat bizarre and revolutionary move, and the market and the customers, and we are going to answer that. We're also going to learn something about ourselves once we realize it's not that bad after all, and go through those different stages. So all those claims that it was completely stupid, illogic, and lazy and whatever, especially if you look at the watch for a couple of times, you realize so many little details that really actually make it different from the Nautilus. And I think there are many things that we will come to see as time goes on. And one last thing, I think, of course, people could actually say right now SE is going crazy because you can actually, if you want to, and if you look at something long enough, a fridge can be the most beautiful thing in the world. You know what I mean? But it's part of our whole hobby that you obsess over small little details, and
Yes.
sometimes they were intentionally hidden, and sometimes also strategies only become apparent once we see more pieces to the puzzle. And like I said yesterday, it's the discontinuation of some Nautilus models didn't make too much sense to me in the past years, let's say, or well, several months. But right now, the thing that I actually think will happen, that the Nautilus and maybe even the Argonaut in steel will go away and so on, make perfect sense if you want to launch something that's going to be the next baseline from which on, like the next blue chip, from which on you build a different price structure and build a different, entire offering.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I would have, from my perspective, that's just my perspective, looking at the Cubitus, if they had made it 4 millimeters smaller so that it's more uniform to people's wrists, and they had done all three watches on straps like the platinum, and they had made the steel green dial white gold, okay, make it a luxury on a strap watch, I think it'd be more well received, because that watch, the platinum watch, is different, has a different complication, has a different look, has a different size to the case, stepped case is more apparent, and on the wrist it doesn't feel like this is a close proximate copy of a Nautilus. It feels like a different watch. And so I just think the problem is the green steel one and the size. To me, I think the Nautilus bracelet was the issue, because it's too close to the Nautilus. It's just too close.
Well, I'm on a list for this exact model, and the reason is that I really love that it's on the bracelet, because the Nautilus bracelet is so great, and it is the 5811 bracelet in steel. I mean, that what's better than that? So at the beginning, I was completely in the same camp. I thought that would never work. Right now, I think it will. The thing is, you mentioned that all the suggestions that you made, I think, are very, very nice, and there are even many more that could be thinkable and even much better. And again, it could actually be, and I'm not saying they intentionally created an ugly watch, so to speak, or a watch out of proportion. I don't think it is ugly, and many other people don't, but some do. But that's actually the thing. They came out with something like any other company. They put out a product, and then they make adjustments. They based on what they see, what the market does, and they have all the different kinds of options to actually do what you're saying, and get closer to what other people would actually want from that line. And that's gonna, first and foremost, make people go, oh, now I like it, so if you start slow, you can build on that. And the second thing is, I think for people who like me, who like the original version, it's also going to be cool, because I don't feel I'm going to be, if I get it, I don't feel I will be left holding the bag, having the very unrefined first beta versions. But I feel I have the most special one, because that was the one that actually so many people did not necessarily like, and I don't like it for that fact, but I like it for the fact that I said to someone else who was talking from the community that I was talking on the phone today, that if everyone had said this watch is completely beautiful and I love it, I would have I might not have been pushed in the other direction, and might not have said, is it really that bad? I mean, come on. be serious, okay? There might be certain things that are not that nice, but is it really that trashy as everyone like joined in saying it is? So I would have been in the other camp, and I might have said, "Are you serious? Do we actually need to have that?" Right now, I think this entire history that is connected to it already makes the watch extremely special. Especially if I look back at it like 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line, and it makes me feel like I'm part of a history because it will be made part of if it's a success or not, we don't know, but it will be a part of Patek's history. It will be the starting point of that part of the history. It would be great to be a part of that, and that's beyond the watch itself that I don't think is ugly at all. 45 sounds very very big all the time, but if you really put it on, it's not much bigger. I said that numerous times than the Nautilus. It has different proportions. You like them or you don't like them. There's no right or wrong in that entire thing. But I actually like the fact that it flares out that much. It makes it much more masculine, much more present. It's very cool to watch your wrist from, let's say, what is that, like 15 feet away in the mirror. It's very very present. It has a huge um, you can recognize it very very easily, and it can also be very very subdued and laid back if you want. So it has a huge versatility to it, and the 45 millimeters do not kind of indicate that it would, but it actually does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, again, it's a little subjective how it wears because it depends on your wrist size and how tall you are. I think the taller you are, the longer your forearm, the better it's going to look because of that width. Like that's a big factor. But I think that the criticism is fair when you release a 45 millimeter watch when the trend is going smaller, and these watches are like these are not, this is not a sports watch. Like everybody calls them a sports watch. A Nautilus is not a sports watch. A Nautilus right now is being worn with a dress shirt, out to dinner, to a meeting, business attire. It's not being used in the pool or diving. Like it's just not, right? And so it's helpful to have the sports, but you're not cycling with a Cubitus on, right? So it's like, right? Like it sounds silly, but like it's just, to me, the two things. Like I like Patek. I'm not. Everybody thinks I'm just AP, but like I like Patek. I love my Nautilus, and I have my other Patek World Time Chronograph, and I'm looking to get an Aquanaut, and I do like Patek, but to me, Patek stands for refined design, like well executed design of the case, right? And just a classic, like they don't make mistakes, right? Like I'm just saying mistakes in terms of like they keep to their aesthetic, right? And you could say that the Cubitus is in that safe zone of like this is only 10% different than a Nautilus. But to me, the problem is as Patek, you have a high standard. Same thing with AP. They always get judged on a different standard. Rolex gets judged on, like if Rolex comes out with a purple and pink watch and they obliterate the case, like I don't think Rolex gets enough hate for what they've done to the Submariner and the Daytona, because I think that both of those watches have gotten worse and uglier last iterations, honestly. Like I think the previous versions were better. So I think there's a higher standard for Patek and AP and Rolex just because of their place in the watch industry. And to me, that's why I like the Platinum one, because I think the Platinum one is 30% different than a Nautilus, and it's got a different, maybe it's 50% different because it's got a different movement. It's on a different type of bracelet. It's got a totally, the case is like totally different than a Nautilus case. It's thicker. I just think that was more of the direction I would have liked them to go, with a smaller case that people could actually wear as a dress watch. Like, let's not joke around. Like, these, it's $80,000, $88,000, right, for the platinum. Like, nobody's wearing that to go like kayaking, right? Like,
well,
like
not
you know
kayaking.
what I mean? Like, it's a dress watch now. It's
Yeah,
used
not,
as a
not
dress watch.
kayaking, but
Yeah.
rolling up your white shirt and wearing it at the beach, definitely. Not me, but someone else, or many
Like
people
on
will.
a yacht, absolutely, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm saying a casual, but you're still elevated situation, right? And so to F1, to you know, on a yacht in Monaco, like all of those times, absolutely. But why is it so big? Like, make it a little smaller so that under a cuff it fits nice. You know, you're in those situations. It still is going to look big because of the square, but just more risks could. They had to know that on smaller wrists, like it's gonna look big. It's gonna be big.
All right. Let me
I don't
unpack,
know.
because you said a couple of things. Let me unpack a couple of them. First and foremost, your ceramic perpetual, you're wearing that cycling. I take it, right? So because that's a sports watch.
No. I that's what I started out by telling OC. I don't believe that a Royal Oak, a Nautilus, a Day
All
Date,
right. Okay.
a
So you think that?
Daytona
Mhm.
even. I don't think that they're quote unquote sports watches anymore. They're in the dress watch category. They are worn primarily at their price point and at their appeal with a dress shirt, even on a yacht or whatever, like casual, nice, but like they're not being worn like in a traditional sports sense.
Right. Okay. I heard your comment
That's
before, saying, and you said it again, and I think you're completely right to a certain extent, that the Nautilus and the Royal Oak are worn with a suit in very elevated situations, and that's completely true, because this is a watch that is, or those are watches that are so versatile, so they can actually, they are elegant, and they can slip under a cuff, and it's perfectly possible. They were not designed to do that in the beginning. So in the beginning, both of these watches were meant to be an option for someone who's wearing a conventional, a classic dress watch during the work week, and then have a different offering at the weekend, so that they wouldn't have to like wear a Rolex or something else, or just to have something in that line. I mean, that has been said on the panel. That's not my thought, but I believe it. And I'm also a very traditional person to a certain extent, especially when it comes to watches, which might be surprised if I want to go for a Cubitus, but we could go into that for some other time. I think, in my opinion, and I think there's a huge difference between America and Europe. Buckley's right in saying that I would not necessarily feel too happy wearing a watch that is meant to be a sports watch with a suit. I mean, you can do it, but there are watches that fit that whole genre better, and those, in my opinion, are still the more classical watches, but like on a leather strap. But that's just me, and there is no right or wrong, and which is why there is no one size fits all in that regard. And the same goes for your categorization, which is very fun, because it's fun as collectors to think about what actually makes those different categories, what fits, what's logic. But it's also a little bit futile, because we will never all agree on those semantics or on those reasonings. You know what I mean? And therefore, yeah,
Right.
that's um, another thing that you mentioned was the trend is going down. And let me do what Thierry, I think, wanted to do, and I'm trying to sound not as cocky as some people thought it was for him to say, and I still believe he did not mean it that way at all. he actually said, "I'm not following trends." And you can actually, if someone says that, you can actually read again into it, especially if he said, "I'm not asking collectors what I should produce." You can say, "Oh, that guy's so aloof, sitting in his ivory tower, just waiting for the I don't know, waiting for some muse to kiss him, and then he creates something that he did not even create in the first place, and expects for people to like it just because he prints his name on it." So I don't think that's necessarily the case. If you say I don't follow trends, Patek, uh, Patek and Rolex really are kind of known to play with the trend to a certain extent. They are also, in my opinion, influenced by success that AP has with certain designs. For example, I mean, there's a reason why they would all use um, rainbow gem setting when Rolex came up with their Rainbow Daytona. AP's approach can be seen in the new in the way Patek designed their new commercial, in the way they were a lot more like taking into consideration all the different like the DEI movement, you could say. So a lot more quote unquote modern, and they're clearly looking at what they feel needs to be done in order to be considered a little bit more approachable for people who are more modern. But on the other hand, I think it's very well justified not to try to follow the trend. And if you come out with a watch that does clearly not fit everyone, I mean, it's clear that a watch as big as that will be tough on the Asian market. It's not going to be a watch that can be worn by everyone. And again, all those things. Let's take the movement for example. People come out and say, "I don't get why they wouldn't design a square base plate for that movement." I can tell you why. Because if they did, they would say, "How can you butcher movements so traditional like that, and just add a square base plate to it, and you think you have created something new?" They would have had to come out with something completely new, which I mean, Tommaso said that yesterday, that he thinks they might even do it. I don't think they will, but who knows? But the thing is, they wanted to take a lot of hints from the past, and they wanted to have some continuity and put it into the watch. You cannot tell me that they are so naive that they took all that time and were not willing because they're too lazy. You cannot tell someone who can think for himself that that's the reason, or that they were not able to create something new. Of course they were, and if they didn't have the chance to produce it by have it finished by 24, they could have come out with it at 25 or 26. He did not even say clearly, and he could have postponed it just perfectly easily. No, all those elements were put in there intentionally. And the thing is, why did they do it? Because I find it ugly. So if someone reacts to it that way, then in my opinion, just because they wanted to. You know, in my opinion, they put so many things in there, design wise, and also their marketing strategy creates so many question marks, and we're trying to make sense of it. And some things come to a situation where they actually make sense, others don't, as of now, so to speak. But I still think it's not a very intelligent summary to say they were just too stupid, just too incapable, just too lazy to do something like that. Who am I to define whether that's the case or not? I believe that they wanted to do it that way, that they had a certain strategy, and that they would have taken their time if they wanted to do it. But they wanted to come out with it now. They wanted to come out with it in this way, and they trust in the process that people will actually grow to it. That's my opinion. Sorry for ranting that long.
No, no. I think the again the issue for me is they're trying they're trying to make this into a sports watch when the reality is at its price point and how it's going to be used is as a dress watch. It's no different than them coming out with those pilot watches with the giant pushers on the other side that are 42, right? The
Yeah,
the 42
they're
pilot
really
watch, it's too big and they're not
yes,
selling. And
yes.
and again, they're looking at it like, oh, these are a fighter pilot watch. Nobody's wearing it like that. Nobody's like, how many people are wearing a casual fighter pilot watch? No wonder they're not selling, right? And there's been a series of misses by them in terms of design like that, where you're like, that was a miss just because of the size, right? Now, again, if you have a big wrist and you have a long forearm, is a Cubitus going to fit well? Absolutely, right? Same thing with that pilot watch. But for you, you're not going to ever wear that pilot watch because you would wear it as a dress watch. Doesn't make sense. As a casual watch, you probably don't like that style as much, right?
Well, the
And
thing is,
yeah,
it's kind of hard to compare the Cubitus to this pilot watch because um, first and foremost, for me, it's pretty apparent why they did not venture, why they ventured um, that why they stayed that close within the Nautilus design language, because that was a safe haven in order to not to have the same problems that they had with, let's say, the Neptune, which is looks very much like the Time back then. It's just not a very current design anymore. Also, a design
mm-hmm.
that's proven not to work. And on the other hand, they yes, they made it bigger, definitely, but it's not comparable. It's very very thin. It has completely different structures, and it is a sports watch. So again, this is them playing it safe. You could say lazy, but I wouldn't say so. I mean, if they had tried to make a completely new design, it would have had the risk not to catch on that easily, despite the fact that it's a dress watch. And Patek failing in the sports watch line would have been a complete disaster for the brand. So this is why they did it. You can call it people call it like they call it timid, but they will still buy it. And the problem of the pilot is Patek owns the design language. It has well, certain historical pieces that it actually alludes to, but they're not really watches that are being put on in an adventurous situation like that. And
Right,
we're not 40s fighter pilots anymore. So
exactly,
no one's
exactly,
wearing a
exactly.
Patek underneath a a real bomber jacket with like, I don't know, buttons on it that will scratch it the
Mm,
moment you put it on. So that's sort of the pilot's watch was very controversial from the get go, and
yeah,
I think they knew it, but they did it just for the fun of it. And some people are
yeah,
buying it still, even though it's not very strong. And I think that's
right.
so amazing about the brand Patek, that they can try certain things. Like just like Rolex, why are they still producing the Cellini in the
Mm-hmm,
form of the 1908? They just for
mm-hmm.
shits and giggles because they can, and that's
Right,
it.
and
That's it.
that's why AP does the concept tourbillons, and not
Right.
everybody's going to like that watch. They're pushing the limits of what they can do, and each brand has that kind of window where they play around with 10% of their designs. I'm just saying that. So really, what the problem for Patek and for AP and for Rolex is that because of the demand on certain sports watches and that they have been accepted, certainly in the United States, I would say fundamentally, you can let me know in Europe if a Royal Oak or a Nautilus is now deemed to be acceptable as a dress watch. Platinum Daytona, Platinum Day Day, are those acceptable with a dress shirt, not necessarily a full suit, right? Or a tuxedo, obviously not. But those are now in a category because of their price, right? The price has pushed up so high on those steel watches even the vintage ones, that they're being worn in that context because now they are at a level that this was what the dress watch was. You had your beater watch for $100 and you had your gold dress watch for, you know, nice occasions when you're wearing a suit to work. And many people just had one, or, you know, just had the dress one. But I think that's, to me, that's where they're struggling right now to kind of keep their identity. Let's be clear, Patek right now makes 99.9% dress watches, in my opinion. I think that almost every single watch is meant to be worn as a luxury watch. Some are more casual than others, but to me, they're all in the category of this is potentially your best watch, okay, because of the price point and everything else. The only watch that I think could be seen as not that is the 5167. That's the only one I think that could not be worn as a dress watch in the United States. I'm talking about in the United States. Even in the United States, that one passes most of the time. But that one's a little more plain.
Due to its success on the secondary market, it could still fit in that category. So you can basically say 100. But the thing is, I can only speak for myself, obviously not for Europeans in general. But I would say if you want to make out a trend, I would say it comes down to personal preference in America and in Europe. But Europe is a little bit more, let's say, traditional and classically oriented as far as conventions go, and therefore they're maybe not as quick to jump on the everyone does what they want train, but adhere to certain rules that they might have seen somewhere. And one thing I really find interesting is that Patek is really merging those two categories, dress and let's say they're trying to casualizing their dress watch line. That's been happening for years now, and I think that was a very, very smart move because the people who try to antagonize Jerry Stern also said, "Tell me one good thing that he's done in the last year, couple of years." That's one thing, for example, because if you think 10 years back, and if you look at the lineup there, one of the reasons why I love collecting books is that it's really a still frame of time. You open that book, and it was the newest stuff 10 years ago, and then you look at it, and it's very traditional. It's only appealing to a different kind of customer. So if you turn it on its head, this argument, Patek is a lot more appealing to different kinds of people nowadays, and they still left enough traditional parts in it in order to appease those who are still stuck in let's not say stuck, but who still like myself, the traditional offering that Patek always had. So I think they're doing that, merging it. But in my opinion, I mean, it comes down to semantics. But I think it's not necessarily just the price point. It's a question of do I want to wear can I even wear a watch with a leather strap on it due to the climate or due to my personal preferences as far as wearing a watch go? And Patek still has both. What you're saying is right. If you feel like the Nautilus is a dress watch and you can wear it as a dress watch because it is so versatile, so you're good with your definition. I myself would actually not say it's a dress watch, even though you can wear it as a dress watch. It is not a dress watch the way a Calatrava is, a classic Calatrava is a dress watch, and therefore that is where I make my distinction. Or there were a couple of people in the chat before that said let's not make the distinction. It's up to everyone, but in my opinion, I would also still I like to remain in that line, because if I say it is so precious that it is meant to be worn as jewelry or as a statement piece, so to speak, and it will never have this toolish aspect about it, then you could definitely say all of the the upper echelon brands are out, and they're dress watches.
Right. Well, that's what's been happening. Even I would say Rolex Pepsi, the new version. If you look at the new version versus the aluminum bezel version of the Pepsi, right? Those are two different categories of watch to me. The new one with the ceramic bezel and the shined up, bracelet Jubilee, or the polished center links Oyster, is in the sporty dress watch category. Whereas the other one, you could wear that and it's very casual and it's very like on the tool side. It's still a nice watch, right? But nobody's looking at that like, wow, look at that shining watch, It just again, it's not going to be worn with a suit necessarily, but some people do wear it with a dress shirt or whatever, a Pepsi.
Or dress shirt.
But they've been moving it up because of the price point, right? They've been enhancing the luxury feel of watches. Rolex has been, and I think that to me that the struggle is, okay, Patek, you want to be a dress watch company? I think that's fine, right? But I think they're best, and I don't mind them coming out with a Cubitus. I'm glad they're coming out with something new. The more options, the better for collectors and for fans of the brand.
Absolutely.
And I think that this will be a beautiful watch on certain people's wrists. And I don't think they need to make watches for everybody. I always say that, like, there's APs that are not for me. There's RMs that are not for me. There's Rolexes that are not for me. And there's Pateks that are not for me. So you can't judge the brand by every watch has to fit you perfectly. I don't think that's realistic. I think that where people are most frustrated with the brand is this could have been a home run if they had made the size smaller, if maybe they didn't use the Nautilus bracelet and they did a green strap on the green watch, right? Similar to the blue strap on the platinum, and made a great new line and give people a little something different instead of saying, hey, we know you love the 5711. Let's make 170 of them, right? Or whatever. Was it 172 of the green? I don't know. It was something very limited.
No,
right?
it was 170 of the Tiffany.
The Tiffany model. Okay. How many of the green did they make? There wasn't that many of those either.
They made 1,000 for the first batch because someone asked why it wasn't on the Canadian market yet. I can't tell you because I'm not part of the distribution process. But what I was told is the following. I know for a fact that not every AD got one. I know for a fact that the 2-1 that my AD got are sold already. They're not display pieces. They just have to hold on to them for as long as it takes for the next batch to come in, and then they can actually release it because they want it for people to be able to touch them, which is very makes a lot of sense. And it has been that way all the time. They want for certain watches to be accessible for as long as it takes for the next one to come, and then they can let go of it. So yep. I think it will be pretty limited. It started out with 1,000, which would actually make 3.3 per AD, but obviously the ADs of different regions of different sizes get different. But
I think Boston was referring to the green 5711 from
the green 5711. Yeah.
But that's okay. Yeah. I appreciate the commentary there. But just to get back to Boston's point, so it was 170 of the Tiffany branded models, and then I'm not sure exactly how many of the green 5711, but there were two versions. There was one with a steel bezel, and then there was one with the diamond baguette bezel, and those go for way over retail. Right. Several $100,000 in secondary. Yeah. And that leads me to kind of a question, not to change the topic back to the Nautilus, but by discontinuing the steel Nautilus. I know Buckley says, listen, the Submariner is the most iconic sports watch of all time. I get it. But if you're looking at I'll change the criteria a little bit, and I'll use the word desirability. When you think about desirability, okay, even the Daytona, which sells for 17,000 retail, it sells for double retail in secondary. The Submariner is a $10,000 watch. It sells for 15,000 in secondary. The Royal Oak, it's a $30,000 watch, sells for 40,000 in secondary or 45,000. The Steel Nautilus, which sold for, I don't know, $30,000 in primary retail price, it's hard to get a 5711 under $75,000. Is that you're much closer to what the secondary prices are, but don't those command $80,000 still for a steel Nautilus today?
Yep.
Those are highly desirable, and who's to say that those aren't? Yeah, they've come down a bit since the peak in March 2022, but if you just look at sheer desirability, it is the most desirable sports elegant sports luxury watch at this point, and there's no reason to think that it's going to become less desirable than it is today.
Yeah,
that's true. But Buckley will hop on and say, you're actually, let's define iconic, because desirability is definitely there. And if we take the Nautilus, it is the Mac Daddy, so to speak, especially when it comes to trading.
And I'll say this for me, who wasn't originally the biggest fan of the Nautilus design, the fact that it is the most desirable makes it more desirable for me personally.
Right.
The fact that it's the most desirable piece makes me want to desire it.
But the thing is, the Submariner, there you go. But the thing is, the Submariner is a piece that much more people can afford, much more people know, much more people buy, and therefore also is much deeper entrenched and engraved into the worldwide attention,
which makes it iconic, no doubt. But does it make it exclusive? And if I want to change the criteria to what is the most desirable and exclusive sports luxury watch that you can buy, that's
clear.
I mean, I think for those of us who aspire to get the pinnacle of an integrated metal bracelet sports watch, as much as I never loved the Nautilus, now I love it more.
Yeah, but that's a different story, because that's completely. I think, Buckley, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I don't think you would argue that. But iconic needs to be defined first, and there are different. That there are additional.
Oh, you're just caving a little bit because Buckley's on the panel, and you don't want to
antagonize him. I didn't even know he was jumping on.
No,
what's up, Buckley?
I mean, I would put it a little differently. I would say, in terms of aspirational watches, right? Watches right now, if you took everybody and you said you have, $50,000 to spend, which watch are you picking? Are you picking a Daytona? Are you picking brand new Daytona, brand new Royal Oak, or brand new Nautilus?
Yeah, 5811.
I would say most people would actually pick a Royal Oak. Now, that's what the reason that the Nautilus is actually a higher tier than the Royal Oak, or at least a higher level, is because of the production numbers. And also, I think because it's a Patek who's known for a more classical and more of a dress watch company, less people know about the Nautilus, less people have tried on a Nautilus, less people's friends have a Nautilus. So until you actually experience it, it's hard to get on that Nautilus train. Like I started out wanting a Submariner or a Daytona first, and then I was like, oh yeah, I'd love a Royal Oak, right? And then you get to, okay, now let me look at the Nautilus. Like, there's an order to discovery just because of the price points, right? So I think that's where it's like, it's hard to define it as what's the most iconic, because I think that if you're looking at the highest level of steel sports watch pieces, I would say that the Nautilus is the highest level
It's not a
for
sports
steel.
watch.
Well, I
It's
mean,
not.
it is a sports watch, but
No, it's not. No one buys a Nautilus because it's a sports watch. This is simple
What do you
math, guys.
no. What do you define as sports watch, though? Because I think SC would have a different definition than you as a sports. What's a sports watch?
A watch that you're going to put on and not worry what happens to it.
That's not any watch.
No, it's very specific.
Any watch over $2,000, you would say
No.
you care. Yeah, you're not going to go, Buckley. You're not going to actually go
would
diving
you
with
go-
a Submariner.
Go what?
You're not actually going to go diving with a Submariner.
I would never go diving, but I wouldn't be afraid to go diving with it. But I've done crazy shit.
You wouldn't be afraid to go diving with it in terms of.
Let me put it to you this way.
Yeah.
I was wearing a Submariner yesterday, holding a clipboard and taking my backpack on and off, which every single time I do it, I put a micro scratch because I can't fucking get the strap off in the middle of Harlem.
Yeah.
I would never do that with a Nautilus. I did it with a sub.
Okay.
That's my definition. But let's just, which sports watch has sold the most amount of units ever?
That's what I was saying, right?
Sub.
So
It's a Submariner. There's no question.
Well,
here.
the most have been made. The most have been made. Every
Because
one
it
of
has the highest demand
all
on
of
the
those watches has been. It
The
does
highest
no.
demanded watch.
It's the opposite. It's the opposite.
No, it's not. The highest
It is.
demanded watch on the planet is a black Submariner.
You're saying the most, not highest.
No, the highest demanded watch. If you added up every single AD in the world and you had them tally up what people come in asking for most, the black Submariner is going to win that.
Because of the price point. Because of the price.
It doesn't matter what it's because
of.
It does. No, it doesn't.
If everybody could get, like I said, if you could have a choice and you had the money for all three watches,
I would get a Nautilus.
I think most people would get a Royal Oak first.
I wouldn't get a Royal Oak because I know too much, just like you do. You wouldn't get a Royal Oak. You would get a Nautilus. But most of the people that are buying watches do not know even a tenth of what we know. The most requested sports watch on the earth is a black Submariner.
Yeah, because it's like 10 grand. Everybody qualifies
that's not
for
what's
it.
factored in. You have billionaires.
It is factored in.
You have billionaires that go in and ask for a black Submariner.
Yeah, but they've already got the other stuff.
No, they don't. You assume that everyone has everything because in our community, everyone has everything. But there are guys that are worth hundreds of millions of dollars and they wear an Omega Aquaterra.
I think the discussion, the biggest thing, okay, for the Nautilus, the Nautilus in and of itself is a better watch than a standard three-hand, like a three-hand 5711 is a better watch than a standard 41 millimeter AP Royal Oak. The better actual apples to apples is you take a jumbo 16202, right? And then you compare it, right? That's closer.
Yeah, but the Nautilus is, it's a better, how do I put it? If you really know and you've had both on the wrist for a point of, a few hours each, most people are going to go with the Nautilus over the Royal Oak. I mean, it takes wearing a Royal Oak for more than 30 seconds to realize that bracelet is amazing looking, but not practical. Everything that makes it so amazing is what makes
it not as comfortable. It's not as comfortable.
It's not nearly as comfortable. It's not under the radar at all. a 5711 is kind of under the radar. With no direct light, if someone walks in wearing a 5711, there's nothing to be seen. It's very, if you know, you know. A Royal Oak, a modern Royal Oak, screams at you from 100 feet away. I'm here. Not to mention the sizing. They haven't nailed the sizing. A 41 for me is perfect, but I'm on the top of the chart. If you have a 6.5-inch wrist, you can't wear a 41. You could barely wear a 37. So they still haven't even perfected the size. The perfect size is probably a 39.5. They haven't gotten there yet, though. The Nautilus,
they've gotten there. They've gotten there, and I think that the caution is this. For me, this is the problem with. There's so many different versions of a Nautilus, a Royal Oak, a Submariner, Daytona, right? Those would probably be the most iconic sports watches. We'd probably agree, something like that.
Yeah, sure.
Something in that range.
Yeah.
So you could say all the way from a Paul Newman original Daytona to the Le Mans Daytona.
But Paul Newman wasn't shit until 2016. Paul Newman was a nothing burger.
I understand. It was underappreciated. Let's just
no. He was enough. Listen, in the grand scheme of celebrities and people being iconic, Paul Newman was not. He's no fucking Sean Connery, right? He's no Clint Eastwood. He's no Sylvester. So
we have to.
He was the only guy. Here's the reality. He was the only guy in Hollywood that got a white dial Daytona and wore it while racing cars and being in movies. Nobody else did that. So he's the only guy who's remembered for it. But he's not a big deal. Sure, he was a good actor and he's in a lot of movies. But this is no different than if one day Tag Heuer becomes super iconic and Leonardo DiCaprio is the guy.
Every watch though has some kind.
No, it doesn't.
Main watch has a celebrity endorsement.
The Daytona was a shitter. The Submariner was handed out simultaneously. It was handed out to people in the military during Vietnam, which wore the watch, beat the shit out of it, brought it back, and made it cool, while being on James Bond's wrist. Daytona didn't have anything. It was nothing.
All right, let me chime in here for a second. The thing is, wristwatches as a collectible weren't very loved pre, let's say, the end of the 80s. And what we experienced is a merging of popular culture and collecting culture, and Paul Newman played a huge role in the collecting culture. These watches, like in the 90s, the Italians bought them all up. They the prices rose and rose and rose. The German market also played a huge role. And the reason why you wouldn't have seen a Daytona on a celebrity's wrist was that back in Sean Connery's time, you wore the watch for the watch. You wore Rolex because it was the most sturdy part, but the guy was the cool part. There was no flexing culture because there was no Instagram and there was no internet. And the thing is that the Daytona played a huge significance in the collecting world, but it was much more niche than it is nowadays. Now we have this merging of those two worlds, and that's why, of course, there's a completely different focus, but you can definitely not say that it did not play a role. It played a role in our hobby, but it did not play a role for LeBron, for example. That's a difference. And one other thing that I would like to add, because we started out talking about sports watches and so on. I once in Zurich, I went into an AP. What was it? It was a little bit a time ago. The sales associate had an AP Royal Oak on his arm, and it was beat and scratched to shreds. I don't know if you've ever seen anything like that. It was completely gone. And obviously someone had worn that watch. I mean, he bought it secondary and he was still proud of it, but it looked very, very worn. Somebody had used that Royal Oak the way Buckley did with his backpack when he wore his Submariner. So it really comes down to how much, whether you can really afford it. And some people actually obviously wear a Royal Oak like other people wear a Submariner. So that's a very, very relative and subjective thing. But on the other hand, the Royal Oak, let's not kid ourselves, the Royal Oak and also not the Nautilus. I mean, I think the Royal Oak is the worst when it comes to being very, very delicate and finicky and so on. And they're, I don't want to go too deep into that, but I think both the Nautilus and the Royal Oak don't even stand a chance of being as everyday wearable as a Submariner, and that's what Buckley meant. Just to cover both.
It's in our community, people forget, right? Because the stakes just get crazier. The dopamine lessens, right? It gets nuts. I mean, look at this picture. If you didn't know watches, this picture would mean nothing to you. In fact, if I'm looking at, what is it, the 5980 in rose gold right there on the bottom with the straps?
Yep.
9 out of 10 people are going to tell you that's a disgusting looking watch. That's not attractive. That the Submariner is something else. Submariner and the Datejust, since the beginning of this of time, really watches took off in the 50s, 40s, 50s, 60s in there, right? That's pretty much all we remember. The Sub is the watch. That's the most iconic sports watch ever. It sold the most units, and I'll do this, and you guys are gonna fucking hate this. The Speedmaster is above the Nautilus and the Royal Oak by a landslide. It's not even close, not even remotely close. The Nautilus and even Terry Stern said in that interview 2 years ago when he came out with the asphalt dials, he said he doesn't understand this new hype around the Nautilus. It was not a thing. It's been a thing for like 8 years. That's nothing. It's really, really nothing. The Daytona was a thing before this.
By the way, you know where that asphalt dial came from? I actually was because of the Terry Stern interviews that we've been dissecting. I went back and I watched several other Terry Stern videos that came out in 2021, 2022, and he actually touched upon that he actually showed it to his son too, Adrian, maybe his two sons. But when he was his inspiration for that dial came from looking at a digital camera. You know, like how those and a 35 millimeter camera. You know how like when you see one of those black cameras and it has that kind of rough textured area. He actually saw a camera from across the room sitting on a table, and he said, "Wow, it'd be interesting if we had a dial that kind of had that black texture to it." And so he went back to the team and said, "Is there any way we could come up with a dial that kind of looks like that?" And they experimented and tried different colors, and they eventually came out with that 5226 or whatever that reference is, with that what we call now the asphalt dial. So I mean, inspiration comes from things that we see in daily life, and I just thought that was a cool story that's how that dial came about.
It's a nice watch. I've tried it on. It's a very, very nice watch. If it came stamped, I may even think about getting on the list. But
the time only, or the travel time.
The time only. But neither one. They don't stamp the dials of either one, so forget it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that without a doubt, Submariners and Daytonas and Speedmasters are in the category of iconic design, right? But I think what separates a Nautilus or a Royal Oak from that are the way that the company produces the watch and the level that the watch is. Just the level of the watchmaking is different. And the Submariner is made in a way that is very durable, but they are making it more luxury now. If you look at a Submariner now versus that James Bond, it's a totally different watch. They've changed the genetics of that watch to make it more luxury, and it's still durable. I'm not saying that it's not durable, because they've added technology to it, but the essence of that watch, it's not light. It's not super comfortable to wear all the time. I think that they screwed it up. That's my opinion.
No, I get it. My opinion. You can't ignore that it's the most sold, most copied watch ever that still holds a premium on the gray market because there's so much demand that they can't satisfy it. They're making more Submariners per year than they are Patek Philippe as a whole, and they still can't touch it. Right.
But
if
they
did that with the Nautilus, if they made 100,000,
they can't.
They made 100,000 Nautilus this year in steel, it would be below
all sell out. No, it wouldn't.
Below retail.
No chance. Not a
chance. Yes, it would, because if everybody here has one, if all four of us have one, you don't want it.
That's not true.
It is true.
Definitely not. No, I would say that it's a better value for your money at its retail price. What you're getting in a watch is better value than a Submariner.
No, you're crazy.
Yes. No, 100%. Because you're getting a watch at a different level. It's a different level of watchmaking.
Yeah, and Buckley would actually, Buckley, let me join your side for just a second. You would say you're getting a different watch for your money, and the thing is, yes, you're getting a worse watch for your money if you want to go swimming with it, for example, or if you just want to get on that bicycle and just hit the road. And the thing is, when you introduce the idea that all watches over a certain price point should be seen as dress watches because they're so well refined and that they're produced that preciously, then I can understand where you're coming from, but that does not necessarily say anything about the variability. And I think, again, I said that yesterday as well, those two categories of watches do so different things for us. A watch that will ruin my cuff after a couple of times of having worn it with a shirt and a suit cannot be a dress watch, in my opinion. And that's my personal definition, but it's just what it is. And the Submariner is far superior to the Royal Oak or the 5711, the Nautilus, in certain regards. And the other watches are superior to the Submariner. It just comes down to what are you expecting of your watch, and that's why we have watches for different kinds of uses.
Yeah, watch collecting is a niche thing in general, but everyone keeps getting off topic here. The answer to the question, what is the most iconic sports watch ever? You're looking at it, is the Black Submariner from Rolex. And I don't think you can argue it. No one can argue it. We're not talking about... I would
say Royal Oak.
No, you're out of your mind.
No, I'd say Royal Oak.
You're out of
No one knows the Royal Oak.
Not even... No one here even believes... If you had said Daytona, we could have an argument. If you had said... that's pretty much it. If you had said Speedy, we could have an argument. But you saying Royal Oak is... should I turn on the Tim Wright channel and ask him about New York City crime? Because that makes more sense than what you're saying. That's an insane argument to make. Let me put that
into the perspective. What do you think a regular person, Joe Blow off the street, like you always say, would say a Rolex looks like? You might argue the Datejust. You might argue fluted bezel or something. You might argue the Submariner design, but most people don't even know. Most people would say it's a golden watch or something. They don't really have anything in their head as far as a clear image goes, if they have nothing to do with watches. But if you show the Submariner to them, they recognize it. And if they see the crown, they say, okay, that is a Rolex, and they discard everything else that is in the book because they think, okay, now I know what a Rolex looks like. So that's the level of knowledge that the majority of people have. And I'm completely on Buckley's side when it comes to that. The Submariner, because it is a Rolex, is far more known in the mainstream that is not interested in watches. And believe me or not, Boston, the Royal Oak. No one in the mainstream really knows the Royal Oak. Only I think that's completely different in America in the metropolitan areas. It is different in the metropolitan areas in Germany too, but not nowhere near to the extent that it is in over there in your country. And all the other persons don't have a clue. They don't know the Nautilus. They don't
Right,
know
but
the
that's not
Royal Oak.
what we're talking about. Though we're talking about which is the most
Yes,
iconic, and for
yes,
iconic, you have to actually ask watch people
No,
who
yes.
yes, yes,
no.
because
But
okay,
watch
then I would
people.
say this.
You're
I
the
would say
only
this,
guy.
Buckley.
I
You're
think you're the
absolutely
only
wrong.
guy. You're
This
the
is why
only
you're
guy that would
absolutely
come on
wrong. No, this is why you're absolutely wrong.
here. No, there's no
By
way
your
I'm wrong. You have
definition,
4 people that are ready
no,
to
this
kill
is
you on this.
by your definition, the most iconic is Speedmaster because of the moon swatch.
No, I didn't say that.
Yes.
I said it's in
More
the
people
running.
know about the moon swatch. It's more in demand. There's people outside
The
for a
most
plastic
in-demand
watch
watch in the world is the
staying
Black
overnight.
Submariner.
No, not
Yes,
anymore.
it is.
The moon
No.
swatch just
You're
killed it.
all wrong. The
I'm
most
not,
iconic is a G-Shock.
the moon swatch just killed it.
You guys are all fucking wrong. The one that they got the fucking idea from for this fucking stupid watch you guys are talking about is a G-Shock. I did a small little test yesterday, right? I went to a few people that I knew and asked them what this Cubitus, whatever you want to call it, reminds them of. And guess what they said to me? A fucking G-Shock. So the most iconic watch that people know is not the Submariner. Unfortunately, to us it is. And to a lot of people, yes, I agree. But the most overall is a G-Shock. Because most people that I see wearing are G-Shocks. Why? Because they're the most durable. And that's the end of that. Sorry, guys, I had to interrupt. How you going? No?
Pedals
I
are a
don't,
lot sexier. Yeah.
I don't believe that.
The G-Shock doesn't sell in the kind of units that that's something like a regular, I don't know, like I think regular Casios, regular Seikos, and other. I don't think G-Shocks sell that in that
What I'm trying to
kind of
say is
quantity.
my point is, yeah, they got the idea from a G-Shock. That's my point.
Well, I think, as I said before we have a discussion like that, we should define what iconic actually means. I actually took, I think I interpreted it similarly to Buckley, a level of recognition in a broader scope. If you say
Well, why would you
iconic to
pick
me
people
is,
that have never don't know watches? How is that the
well,
factor?
if it reaches people that that don't know watches and they still point to the Submariner and
They're going to
say,
call it a Rolex, though. They're not going to call it a Submariner.
but it's still
They're
the
gonna,
same.
exactly. You're right. They're gonna call it a Rolex. A lot of people don't even know what a Submariner
They
is.
can't. They wouldn't be
They would
able to
call it
pick
a
a
Rolex.
Submariner versus a Daytona versus a GMT out of a lineup because they all are the same case.
Well,
Yes,
Rolex
but
is the most iconic brand of all time.
if you
is.
introduce a different introduce a different category and say watch design that has influenced many ripoffs, so to speak, it is still Submariner, but it's a different
It is.
category. But it's still,
Yeah, I
I
agree.
don't even understand how this is like Boston. If we were going to say which integrated watch is more iconic, the Royal Oak or the Nautilus, I would agree with you and say that the Royal Oak because of the design, and I would agree with you there. But we're talking about a sports watch, and you're going to argue against a black Submariner? I think you're fucking crazy.
You don't
There's
go get
no way.
Buckley,
No, I
you're
think it's a
100% right.
different. I think it's a different definition. When I
We have to go
when
by
I
the definition of sports iconic sports watch. That's the only definition. It's a Submariner. I mean, how can you? I wouldn't even. You just said before you wouldn't even call a Royal Oak a sports watch. right?
No. I would say all of those quote unquote sports watches are now dress watches because of the price point. That's all I would say.
What do you mean
The way they're
luxury?
being
I
the
think
way they're being worn is in a context that a traditional dress watch would be worn in the United States.
Yeah, but
When
see I don't know if SC would agree with me here, but if we go to the brand AP and we look at the steel code chronograph, right? That watch to me is more of a sports watch than a steel Royal Oak on a bracelet, because a steel Royal Oak on a bracelet, I would wear that with a suit and tie. I would
right.
never wear a code chrono, and the code chrono costs more money than the steel Royal Oak.
Right, and that's why it's a little bit confusing, or let's say it's not as relatable for many people. I think only once you've listened to the definition, because we're talking about
no one
upmarket
cares.
luxury.
No one
I'm just
cares,
saying.
though. No one cares
I'm just,
about a guy that doesn't know.
But the thing is
what
that
a
they
Rolex
classify it as luxury watches. Even a Submariner, they're a
Right.
luxury watch.
It is.
End of story.
I would rather say
that's the truth.
I would rather say there's a new kind of watch that everyone's kind of going towards. The code 1159 belongs into it. Many of the new Pateks belong in that category, and that is this casual dress category. Because there, I would agree with Buckley that that a Royal Oak is far more wearable with a suit and traditional cuffs than a Royal Oak chrono. And I would wear a Royal, sorry, I'm code 1159 chrono, and I would wear that. I could see myself wearing that watch far more with a, let's say, still smart casual attire, but not with a suit, because it's too hefty.
Look,
and therefore there's the three different categories. It's dress, it's sports, and it's this dressy sport or sporty dress.
We all know that AP in general is living in that futuristic hybrid world. When you go to Patek, they're in a suit and tie. You go to Rolex, they're in a suit and tie. Vacheron. When you go to AP, they are sometimes in a suit, and it's with a white t-shirt and white sneakers, because they're trying to break the status quo. They're trying to say, we are here, right? Seek beyond the traditional format. So I don't know if you have the definition confused, Boston, but I can't. There's no way that you can cut it where a Royal Oak is a more iconic sports watch than a sub. It's impossible. It's literally impossible.
Buckley,
Well, the original.
You know why the reason why I came on? You know why the reason why I came on? Is because you guys have got one of the sexiest panels out there at the moment. I can't. You guys are nailed the sexiness here, man. Anyway, I've got to go. It was nice talking to you. I briefly came on just to say hello, because I'm a big fan of SE, and although he's got me blocked in the chat, it's all right. I can handle that.
You're not blocked.
No. By SE.
Oh, okay.
I can't see his messages. Ever.
I don't know.
And he breaks my heart.
Anything more, I don't know if anyone has done anything more rude to me than what you're about to do. Coming on, calling this panel the most sexy panel there is, and then leaving it just to not
to make
have
it less sexy. Yeah, make it less sexy.
That's so.
Listen, can I tell you something?
Really
I came on to give you a compliment, just to interject a little bit and just say hello, just to talk some shit. I really wasn't coming on to have a serious conversation, just to catch up and say hello, because I haven't spoken to anyone for a while. So
yeah,
hello to you guys, and I hope you guys have an awesome show and the rest of your day or evening.
Cheers.
And we'll talk again
Good to
soon.
see you.
Stay sexy, boys.
Good to see you.
Bye.
See you later.
Good to see you, GMT.
See you.
By the way, what's interesting is on the Audemars Piguet homepage, which I'll share now, there used to be a big feature here for the Seek Beyond campaign. And I think, okay, so now they've I don't know. They've replaced it with the forged carbon. Maybe this will rotate to something else, but I don't think so. And if you scroll down, you have the 2024 collection.
Mm-hmm.
You have the minis here.
Mm-hmm.
Scroll down. Now you have the remaster 2. I don't know. And then you have AP history. It looks like they are not too thrilled with the Klein Musik and the Seek Beyond campaign. I mean, maybe they got some negative feedback, but it's nowhere to be found.
I just
Gone.
saw it the other day. I just saw it on Instagram. They did an Instagram ad on their story saying "Seek Beyond."
Okay.
But AP is interesting. To me, they're like a McLaren or something, right? They're playing in that RM game, and it's for the guy that he's about to take out a Ferrari, and he's going to strap an offshore or something on a crazy strap, and he's going to show up to the steakhouse in a black T-shirt instead of a dress shirt because fuck you. And there's something very, very cool and refreshing about that. I think Patek is very stuffy. It's we make a Rolls Royce, and you better have your tie on.
But doesn't old money trump new money at the end of the day?
I mean, it depends on your positioning. I think there's room for both. I don't relate to old money, and to me, a lot of them come across as cunty. That's why it's very ironic that I'm working with Tiffany Patek instead of AP.
And you love loafers.
I do love. Well, I love Ferragamo and Gucci loafers. I don't really like and Laura. Well, those two brands. I don't like penny loafers or suede or any of that garbage. But I don't even know, like this whole Holy Trinity thing. I think we gotta abandon that title because that's not a thing anymore.
Wow.
It is unless we change it.
It's not really a thing, though. I mean, that they used to be competing for like the dress watch space, but none of them are really. I mean, Patek and AP are kind of competing, but not really, because most people have both. That have if you have one, usually you have the other, and it calls for a completely different situation when you're wearing both. I mean, when you go into both boutiques, it's very, very different. And you could walk in with Jordans, shorts, Kith t-shirt. AP will welcome you with open arms and say, here's our code, and here's our offshore. And after you get that, you can have a Royal Oak. Patek, they're like, show me your linen pants and linen dress shirt. Show it to me. What are we doing? Are we dining overlooking Central Park, or are we flying down to Miami?
Well, there are several different definitions of luxury or luxury purchases and luxury worlds that you feel comfortable in. For me personally, and it might be that I'm more traditional and I'm also from a different region, so to speak. I'm not used to that offering, and that's one reason why I think for me AP is too much all over the place. If I see a 50-year-old sales associate wearing white sneakers to a suit, he just looks like a complete joke to me. And if you're for me, it's so try hard to dance between both worlds. It's nor fish nor meat, or what do you say? To me, it's about class, and it's very, very difficult to bend the rules without and look cool doing it. And some just look stupid. I'm not saying that AP is catering to that market, but in many cases, like you said, very often in the past, Buckley, and that resonated a lot with me because I have always been thinking that that we should learn a little bit more etiquette again, and not be only satisfied once we're allowed to go shopping with a diaper. This whole casualization, it works in certain settings, but I think it doesn't mean that there isn't still a different world that I feel much more at home with, and Patek is actually um, catering to that world just as well. And therefore, that's why I think.
I don't know if they're doing as good a job as. I mean, you don't have to be that though. That's the thing. You don't have to be in a sport coat and a t-shirt with sneakers on. You know, you're very German. You're very, very structured. You know, there's zero bullshit allowed. It's this. I mean, that's a German feature. You know, hopefully no one gets offended by that. It's a compliment. But
I mean, many Germans aren't doing it, but they look like a fool, in my opinion. So that's the thing.
Yeah,
So
I would agree with you. I would agree with you. There's a lot of people walking around AP, and they're trying very, very hard for you to notice that they're wearing AP. That's definitely a characteristic of people collecting that brand. They're very progressive. It's very, very progressive. I mean, the offshore, the fact that they would sell a 43 millimeter, 15 millimeter thick on a rubber strap watch to someone who has a 6.5-inch wrist at 140 pounds and tell them that this is okay is.
I'm 145. Sorry.
It's wild. No, so you're probably like 173 if I had to guess.
And if I may, I would add to that. For me, someone with a beautifully tailored suit, wearing a very, very simple, basic Calatrava, looks more luxury to me than someone with a $200,000 watch on and wearing with a $5 shirt, wearing worn out sneakers. That's I know that's gonna get people riled up, and there are different definitions of luxury, but there's more than watches when it comes to um, taking on this luxury world basically. And I know that's a very, very conservative way to look at it, but still, there's this one meme where a very, very yeah, not well dressed guy is walking behind a girl, and the one is the clothing, and the other is the watch. It actually hints towards the fact that so many people look like a bum, but you can differentiate them from a bum by the fact that they're wearing a $250,000 on their wrist. To me personally, that's not luxury, but that's just me.
Well, I think the difference is, like, there's a philosophical difference between AP and Patek, and some people don't connect with what AP's doing. Some people don't connect with Patek's doing. To me, Patek is making a Swiss watch as they have traditionally, and they're making it for themselves, and they're making it for a European audience primarily. And I think that the difference is AP has embraced different materials, different technologies, and more of a worldwide global approach to watchmaking that is trying to give people what they're looking for, and design and variation. And they're more on the art side, and Patek is more on the classical side, right? And so if you look at that and you say, well, you could criticize Patek for being too stuffy and for focusing too much on dress watches, or you could criticize AP for being too artistic and being too colorful and too loud and too obnoxious with some of the sizes of their watches. So I think that both though, when you come down to it, the 5711 and the 16202 both were made by Genta at a similar time, and those are the closest thing in the whole catalog that are approximating each other at this point in time, because AP's going one direction and Patek's going another direction, but it's for different audiences. And I think both offer something unique for a collector, and I have both, and I enjoy both for different reasons. So I think it's two I think sometimes as a Patek collector, we tend to look at AP as like, how come they're not more like Patek? And AP's like collectors are looking at Patek saying, how come you're not more like AP and giving us a tourbillon in a Nautilus case, right?
That's a very thoughtful notion. That's I like that. That absolutely. And there is, as you to expand on that, there is no right or wrong. I would just add that that Patek might be producing not only for a European audience predominantly when it comes to dress watches and so on, but also in the Asian market. They're very strong when it comes to their rare handcrafts, for example, and so on. They, or in Japan, where they also still wear suits and are more traditional. I think that's what they also cater towards. Whereas AP and Richard Mille and so on are more a little bit more firm in the American market and in the Middle East, but the Royal Oak and the Nautilus can do both, and that's also one of the reasons why they're that popular, because you can actually wear them in different climates on different kinds of wrists, and they can also bridge the gap between those.
Good point, SE. You just dropped out a little bit. Let me pose a question. Do you think Patek Philippe would be in the position that they are now in 2024 had they not introduced a sports watch in the 70s, and that if they kept their collection primarily dress watches and they missed that whole wave altogether?
No.
So in a way, it's a happy accident that they kind of did what everybody else was doing. In a way, jumped on the bandwagon, came up with a stainless steel sports, for lack of a better term, a sportier watch on a metal bracelet, and that helped them propel or even enhance their image and their brand identity for 50 years to come.
Yeah, I mean, look at Breguet. That's not a place you want to spend your money right now.
There you go. I mean, that's a very good observation, Bucky. Look, I mean, Breguet from their technical expertise, engineering, their movements, their history, their legacy, beautiful dress watches, but they never had a sports piece that caught on. And now it's fair to say that they are well regarded, but they're not considered on the ascendancy. They haven't maintained their position like a company, like a brand like Patek has.
Well, I would think. I mean, look at Vacheron. I still think they have a good standing, despite not having a. You know, I don't think anybody's going to argue that an offshore is at the same level as a Royal Oak and a Nautilus in terms of design and desirability. I think that they're nice watches, but I wouldn't.
You mean an overseas?
Overseas, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Overseas.
Overseas is technically made better, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, but made better doesn't. So I think that the issue for people is when you look at a watch, are you trying to take something that is a luxury item and it has to do everything for you? You need to play golf with it. You need to go swimming with it. You need to go in a pool. You need to go on a boat. You need to, go to the office with it, right?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Are you trying to do that, or are you trying to say this actually is inherently rare and it's about the design of this thing and it's about the company that made it and it's about the legacy of what that is? That's a totally different reason for buying a watch, right? And that's what I meant by icon before. When you buy a Submariner, if you walk in and you buy a Submariner right now, okay, you are part of the legacy of Submariners, right? But I would say that the current model Submariner is much more detached from the original James Bond Submariner, okay, and the history and everything else, because they're pumping out so many of them. I just don't see that. I see it as a great designed watch that you can wear daily, but I don't see that as like this special.
It doesn't have to be special to be iconic, though.
Okay, but
I know, I agree.
before we go down that road
yeah.
again, I would like to add something to the Breguet argument,
Yeah.
because I cannot let that slip, because Breguet is a very, very glistening name. It's one of the most renowned names of genius, but it's still a name that was bought. It is part of a luxury conglomerate. It does not have the lineage. It does not have the continuity. Patek would not be the same without the Nautilus. That's out of the question. They would not have would not have this push-pull element that Rolex has with a Daytona, for example, and therefore they would not nowhere near as powerful without the Nautilus. But they would be very, very significant because they made a lot of imprints into watch history, and they were the ones that actually started this entire above the list part as well. For example, I can. I'm reading a book at the moment that is about this first auction at 89 in 1989, and Philip Stern actually was completely was completely surprised that all his 2499s sold after that auction in his boutique, because people were running to get that watch and were willing to pay more or to sell it, because they knew they could actually sell them for more that they paid in the salon. So he immediately stopped. He ran to the telephone. He stopped the sale of that, made him more or made them a lot harder to get, because the customers were simply declined, or the requests were declined, and he started with that. So the Daytona always traded a little bit over retail, but not crazily, because it was such a nice watch. Not only a good design, but also a very, very wearable watch, and it still is. And then it took off in the like in the tens. But Patek is absolute king in the auction world. Was mostly loved by the Italian and German collectors in the 80s and 90s, and they actually set the tone back then. And yeah, therefore I'm a strong believer that a 2499, for example, or a 1518 would be Magdali still. But if we're talking about the health of the brand and how much watches can they sell, and what kinds of ringers can they put their customers through, and so on, here's where the Nautilus shines basically, and also contributes to the might that the brand has nowadays. But Breguet, as much as I appreciate the finissage and everything, and not to take anything away from someone who actually owns a Breguet, it's a very nice watch, but you cannot compare it in the same sentence with Patek. Sorry.
I'll tell you this: if you handed me 150,000 in cash and said, "Go to one of the Holy Trinity and build a collection," it's going to take you'll get a watch every 6 months. You need 3 watches. AP is the easiest to do it with, followed by Vacheron. Patek is the hardest.
Because of what they're making you buy?
Because of what they're making, right? So at 150K, right?
Yeah.
I can go right now, and I've thought about this. I can go get an offshore chrono or an offshore diver. I can go get a code 1159 chrono. Okay. And I can go get a steel Royal Oak 3-hander, and I can cover all my bases, enjoy the watches, and I can live in 2024 never putting on a dress shirt unless I have to go to a wedding. It's the only time I really need to wear a dress shirt. Other than that, there's no restaurant really on earth at this point where if you walk in with a t-shirt and a blazer, you're turned away, as opposed to a dress shirt. So it is easier to work with AP and to do that than it is Patek. Patek, first of all, I don't even know if you can do 3 watches at 150,000, and if you could, it's going to be tough. You're talking about the entry-level Calatrava. And then, if you're lucky, right, you're not going to get a Nautilus. Not happening.
An Aquanaut and then a complicated piece, probably.
Yeah, and that's not, and even a complicated piece, you're not making it 150K. Vacheron, I can go get a Patrimony, I can get an overseas, and then I can get something on the fringe maybe if I want. But Patek is by far the hardest.
But that part of that is because you're setting the price level at 150,000, which is a level. It's not. I'm not saying setting an arbitrary level is bad. I'm just saying people will set it at different places. So if you set it at 250, it might be different. And if you set
Even
it at
250 with Patek is difficult.
It's difficult, but if you set it at 75 or 50, you might find it much easier to build a collection with Rolex, a three-piece collection with Rolex, than at AP. So the level at which you set that
But I
price
said Holy
point,
Trinity specifically. I said of the
okay,
Holy Trinity. If you
okay,
give me
that's fair enough.
50,000 a watch, three-piece collection across a year and a half, taking in everything from access to how long it's going to take to get the watches to what they want you to do. Patek is going to be the hardest of the three. AP is the easiest.
And each brand has its strengths. In the dress category, Patek is going to be the best. In maybe the
But
sports piece
dress
category,
might not be
maybe.
necessary anymore. To Boston's point, I could tell you as a young person, I do not feel the need for dress. I'm doing it because I like it, but I don't feel the need to buy. I don't see it that it's there. Everything I can do in my Patek, I could do in my Datejust. And in fact, I get more compliments on my Datejust.
Mm-hmm.
And it's 1/5 of the price. So,
and you don't have to worry about rain.
Yeah,
No,
that's what I want to add. For me, it's not even what people think, but it's
Right.
it's the wearability.
Right.
If you put on a Nautilus, it's
Yeah.
really you don't have to think about it anymore because you can sweat right through it and then
Right.
rinse it off. If you wear a 5270, you need to get a new strap, or let's say down the line very soon, and therefore, yes, I would actually say that VC is the easiest. Not necessarily if you want to like win the brand and be Cars and Chrono level kind of thing. That's difficult, but that's difficult with all the brands. But in Germany, just not too long ago, a new VC boutique was opened in the Maximilianstraße in Munich, and they're the nicest persons there. It looks very fun and colorful and fresh, but still very elegant. And you can get everything. You can even get a 222 there. It's not. You can get every piece there, and it's not hard at all. You just need the money. And of course, if you set it to 150. I mean, it comes down to what the retail prices of the individual pieces and which individual pieces you would like to have. But in contrast to AP House, which we have in Munich as well, there's no putting you through any ringer. They're happy, but they also don't need you because there's enough Russian, Arabian, Chinese, or whatever foreigners who have a lot of money just walking in, knowing not too much about it, just saying, "Oh, that's a nice watch. Reminds me of Munich. Let's take it with us." So I don't really feel that like they're having a lot of problems, but they do have more problems than AP and Patek, obviously, because they're doing a lot more for the customer, more events, more wining, dining, service, friendliness, and so on. And that's always an indication of, do they need to do it, or can they play the exclusivity card? I think that card has vanished for MVC. Are you still there?
Yeah. I mean, I think for VC, they're always going to be in that third place with Patek and AP. It's okay though. It's not a bad place to be in, honestly, because they make great watches, and the problem for VC is actually that they're not independently owned. I think that's the biggest issue for them, is that they're always going to be subject to that, you know.
for me, it's the second biggest issue. The biggest issue for me is that they're too close to Patek, and Patek just walks all over them, history-wise. And whenever they come up with something very creative, Patek actually eats their dinner, because they came out with a Métier d'Art line, for example, where they show their rare handcrafts. A couple of years later, Patek comes out with their rare handcrafts, and in my opinion, and I think it's very subjective if you like the design, but if you look at the Métier d'Art pieces and you compare them to the rare handcrafts, Patek just obliterates them, in my opinion. And then the offering is very dressy, or let's say very similar to Patek. And if I want to go for an overseas rose gold jewel time with a green dial that I had on, it's a beautiful piece. But can I, after buying that piece, stop thinking about a 5711R? No. And even the Patrimony that the Buckley is a very huge fan of. I love that watch, but I can't bring myself to forget that it is a copy of the Calatrava. I'm sorry. So Patek was first in so many aspects, and it has so much going for it. It's a very bad idea to be standing that close to it. AP ventured away. AP had their Jules Audemars line, for example, which did not work, and they just dropped it, which was a smart move.
Yeah, I mean, I think that what helps Vacheron stay where they are is that they're very well respected. They're making great watches. You know, like, I don't think anybody would argue that they're not making great watches. And I think that they have some watches that are in that top 50 of watches that are currently in production. I think that some people would put, various models in there. And so I think they're doing okay. I think, going back though, I have a question for you guys. Do you think, in terms of sports watches, which brand, if you had to rank the brands in terms of the sports watches that they produce, what would the order be?
In which metric?
At this brand is making the best sports watches that they have out there right now.
Best to do
the
what?
Highest level. Just the highest level watch. Because what I think what's interesting,
the highest level sports watch is RM.
Right. I would say so too. Right. And then I would put AP. And then I would put Patek. And then I put Rolex. Because AP puts high complications beyond what Patek is putting in their sports watches. They're just reserving them for dress watches. And so because sports watches are more readily used as a dress watch, it's almost, I think that's some of the tension that Patek has right now, is they're like, but we make dress watches. But everybody's like, yeah, but we're wearing sports watches as dress watches. So why don't you stick a tourbillon in a Royal Oak? And they're like, no, a Royal Oak is, why don't you stick a tourbillon in a Nautilus? Like, no, we're not going to, that's a sports watch. We're not going to stick a tourbillon in that watch. That makes no sense to us, right?
We're going to stick it in the Cubitus line.
Maybe, right? Maybe they do. But right, there's this tension where it's like, hey, wait a second, like, we're actually third in sports watches, but they're at one of the top in dress watches. But now you've also got Patek is kind of in this weird place where they're like third in dress watches, but they're like, out of the big brands of dress watches, they're probably number one. But they have very stiff competition now from all these independents, right? I mean,
no,
I'd almost put, you wouldn't say that?
No.
I think the top, you don't think the top independents are pushing them, the top ones.
Again, we have
Like
to decide.
a Regepi versus a Patek right now.
No, but a Regepi is a digested watch, and you have to be in the circles to even find that or know what that is.
No. We're not talking about Joe Schmo. I'm talking about if you want a dress watch, right, and you're a collector right now.
Patek is the highest. Patek is the best one.
By far.
Patek out of the big ones. Absolutely.
The highest, right? In my opinion, the highest level dress watch that one can achieve is a piece unique from Patek Philippe.
Okay.
I don't think it gets any higher across the board from anyone. I don't think it gets any higher than that. Sure, FP Journe makes crazy stuff. Regepi makes crazy stuff, but as a whole, they do not have the name that Patek Philippe has.
I'd probably put FP Journe number 2. Would you put FP Journe number 2?
Would I put FP Journe number 2?
Like a piece unique from FP Journe, like his Francis Coppola hand watch.
Here's the thing, though, Boston. So when we talk about dress watches, right, and we go, my brain automatically goes to conservatism, and getting a piece unique from Patek Philippe that's maybe a minute repeater.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're a dress watch, but we're also a complication, and we're also making a custom from the most iconic brand. FP Journe, their cleanest dress watches are the entry level ones. The Resonance is a piece of art. It's in a dress watch case, but it's not a dress watch. It's an expression. Right? The Patek piece unique is not an expression.
All right, let me chime in real quick. I can remember very well when FP Journe was just starting to make it into the recognition of all the collectors. So it's just a hiccup in this entire development. Patek has a huge past, has a huge future, will always back it, and when you wear one, then this entire gravitas, so to speak, is in that watch. It cannot be replaced. Again, we need to talk about which setting we would actually like to say, which kind of social setting, or which kind of level of collectors, or which kind of set of people should decide what is the best dress watch, or what is the best sports watch. Because if you are in the right kind of setting, I would agree that Richard Mille is the top sports piece. If you're not in the right kind of setting, and it does not have to be base level, it can still be high level, but people would actually still say, it's too plasticky for me. I feel more comfortable with a Nautilus 5712R, for example. I feel more elegant plus sporty with that kind of thing. And this could definitely be on a yacht just as well, right next to a Richard Mille. But for that kind of audience, it really comes down to what you define. But I think overall, Patek trumps it completely. The dress and the sports watch part, not for the niche part, because the independents have grown very, very strongly, especially in America. By the way, it is far easier to get an FP Journe in the middle of Europe, for example, in comparison to America. I think we talked about that already. And who's to say that FP Journe is still there in 10 years' time? I mean, the really, really rich guys don't care. But if we're talking about longevity or also history, so looking backwards and forward, I don't think even Richard Mille is not safe in 20 years.
Yeah, I agree with you, but Richard Mille is it's different. It's a different thing. It's
of course
thing.
It's really almost like, I feel like AP and Richard Mille have created a new category.
I actually agree with that, and I've been thinking about that quite a bit. And I think that a few of the independents are making their way into that category.
Yeah.
Like
Urwerk, right?
Urwerk, Dave Bethune, The Romain
Mad.
Coulier thing, the sports watch he makes, all of that is going into that new category of like
Performance watches.
Yeah.
Almost like high-end performance watches.
Yeah.
Is the best way that I would put it, where it's materials, it's like a mix of materials and design and engineering and
Yeah. Very,
right?
very cool. It's a very, very cool place to be.
Right.
Very,
and I think that there's that. And then I think there's another category that has sprung up, and it's the art category. And you touched on some of the FP Journe are almost in this art category of like, it's like visual mechanical art. And I would put like, yeah, I'd put like some of the Jacob and Co's with the, you know, no, I'm not saying it's good art. I'm not saying it's good art, but like mechanical art, the Godfather watch, right? Or the Bugatti watch, or right, like I would put that into like an art piece. It's like it's some art is ugly, but it still sells, right? But I think some of the MB&F with the weird shapes, it's like an Art Deco design. Art piece. Like you're not gonna swim with, you know, like it's not for that. It's like visually like, wow, that's different, you know. And I think some of the brands have that art side, and I'd almost put the Rainbow Daytona in the art side, like the gem art.
Well, it's this whole thing. It's this whole black t-shirt entrepreneurial crew that's pioneering that. I mean,
right.
There's a whole market of people.
It's like a conversation piece because of the art of it.
There's a whole market of people that play with watches and sneakers and will contrast those two things against the most conservative wear, and it works. It's cool. It doesn't work all the time. You can't do it as an average Joe Schmo. You kind of have to be someone to do it. But it's is that something that's going to stay though, Boston? I don't know, because it's so fucking niche.
I think it is to stay, and the reason is that I think that it's an overlap of the art world. Like I really think that when people with money are looking at stuff, there's a category of classical, and then there's a category of performance, and then there's a category of art, and there's a category of like everyday wear type stuff. And I think that they're out there at art auctions buying, you know, $20 million splatters of modern art, and then they go see the Jacob and Co. with the celestial, you know, astronomia with the planets going around, and they're like, oh, that's kind of cool, let me get that, you know. And it's like, it's just an extension of that idea of buying something that's rare and unique.
It's the Cellini clientele.
Yes.
That's what you're talking about.
Yes. It's a rare, it's like, and that is always going to be there, because no matter when people have ridiculous amounts of money, they're looking for something different. And they're looking, like, some people are going to gravitate towards like, nobody's buying this, so I like it. Or I just buy what I like, right? And there's a tendency when you have a lot of money to either go down that road, or you could care less about that road, right?
The thing is, if I'm allowed to chime in, real quick, the thing is, they will go to something out of the ordinary, or not to have a conversation piece. But there are two problems with that. The first one is, if you have to explain something, you need to have a very niche crowd as well, or a very douchey crowd, in order to let that land, or nobody will care. And people who spend a lot of money, even if they have a huge amount of money, they want for people to care, and they don't want to spend the money completely in vain. I've asked myself when I started out gave this whole watch collecting, took it a little more seriously. I started out asking myself why so many people who clearly could afford far more than a gold Daytona still wore a gold Daytona in those nice venues. And the reason is that Patek and Rolex are so recognizable that it's just a club, and partly maybe they put it on because it's also more sturdy. They can walk into the water, or I don't know, the waiter hits them. It's not going to do anything to the watch. But I think it's more that they want to communicate. I want to wear something that people recognize as well, without me giving them America's 5 paragraphs, so to speak. And if we walk down if we look into the future, no one knows what's going to happen. No one knows how trends change and what new generations will do. But in my opinion, this whole hype of the so-called independence is here to stay. I think that there's a reason why auctions expanded their catalog to watches, and this won't go away, even though the secondary market cooled off. There will be times when there's an I don't know how you say that, an increase of interest, and increase of value will occur again. It's like a little bit like in the stock market. It ebbs and flows. But of course, you're a lot safer in the established brands, and I'm not necessarily talking monetarily, also that, but some people might not care too much about that. But as far as recognition goes, you want for your watch to be recognized, no matter at what level. So if I have all the money in the world, and I have a 5712R on, and another person has an independent on that's equally valuable, this person has more of a conversation piece explaining, and there's a likeliness that people won't care, because you're talking about different things than just watches in a social setting. So the Nautilus communicates without saying anything, and that is kind of cool. And some people will or that this will draw more people to that than the independents, for example, unless you're really talking about a very douchey crowd.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's douchey as much as like some people with money are like, it's just money. I made it. I worked hard for it. I'm not looking at value at all. I'm looking at, I don't care if something looks nice, I'm gonna buy it.
Right.
And
I'm
it's
not saying
almost
douchey
no, yeah. I'm saying it's a niche philosophy and
right.
thinking and
That's what
crowd
I
that
meant.
will buy that and won't look at the value proposition and won't look at the brand history and could care less. And all they say is, I'm looking to talk to my watchmaker. I'm looking to have them make my dial with blue because I like blue, right? Like it's a different type of buyer, and they are on a whole different level of being into the hobby, right? And from their perspective, they're actually a bigger lover and almost protector of watchmaking, right? It becomes like this idea that like I'm preserving the legacy of watchmaking by working with this independent and helping that person to continue to make watches. Like
Right.
it's almost
That's
like philanthropic pursuit for them.
That's the PG way. And there's your way, Jeff's way, and there's no right way, basically.
Right.
But the discussion started out with a question: what's the top tier dress watch? What's the top tier sports watch? I think it comes down to, again, to the question, for what? I mean, what do you want to achieve? What are your preferences? What does the watch have to do for you? And it's very individual.
So
I actually
the most iconic dress watch of all time. Make a pick.
The most iconic dress watch of all time?
Of all time.
Sports watch. Right?
We did sports watch. I think it's agreed. It's Submariner, right?
For sports watch.
For sports watch, most iconic of all time is Submariner. I'm gonna put dress watch, most iconic of all time, Cartier Tank.
I'm gonna go with Submariner as well, but I'm not quite sure whether that might change in 10, 20 years to the Daytona due to the fact that it's so popular, and it has so much of a mainstream appeal. And any descendant of the reference 96, like my 5196, is for me the epitome of a dress watch. A very simple three-hander, slim, and yeah, starting this this entire line of classical dress watches. Those are my picks.
So
I'm
the
gonna
most
listen
iconic-
to Boston's. I'm gonna
most
listen to
iconic
Boston's
dress
picks, and
watch.
I actually have to jump because it's getting late here.
So your most
So
iconic dress watch of all time is a Patek Calatrava.
Yes,
Okay.
definitely.
I would say sports watch. I would say Speedmaster.
Oh.
And for dress watch, I would say Day Date.
That's an interesting way of looking at it.
And the reason is, I think the moon landing was the number one most iconic use of a sports watch ever. And they've been riding on that since clearly.
Yeah.
And who knows how many Speedmasters they've produced. I mean, it could be 4 times a Submariner in sheer number. Like, Omega's pumping them out, let's be honest, right? And then you go with then you have the moon swatch, and it just shows how ridiculous it is, right? They sold in 2022, they sold almost 2 million moon swatches. I mean, it's just incredible number. So that's why I would put that there. And then I just feel like the Day Date was the first with that complication. It's a quintessential Rolex. It's been around from back then to now, and I just you can wear it on a strap or the bracelet, in either way it's iconic. Like people put them on the leather strap, the old times. I just think that that watch, with the presidents wearing it, and just, I don't know what it symbolizes. I just feel like that's iconic. But I think that both of your picks are also, like,
I love all of our picks. The only gripe I would have with a Day Date is that it's also kind of sporty. So it rides the lines a little bit between dress and sports because it is so versatile as well. So, but yeah, no, it's a very good choice. And yeah, there are. If you really take the Speedmaster and the Submariner and you put them up against each other, it's impossible to say what's more iconic. I think it's impossible.
Right.
And there are several pieces that you could actually put on the same in the same category, and it's impossible to just decide. For some people, it's the one. For some people, it's the other. My Daytona pick was the worst, but I actually said it's more future oriented.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I think the Calatrava is the best choice as far as dress watches go. But again, that's just my opinion. So, guys, it was a huge pleasure to talk to you once again, and yeah, I wish you a beautiful stream.
Thanks for jumping on, SD.
Cheers,
Always a
SD.
pleasure.
Bye.
Cheers, buddy.
See you later.
I think you guys have skewed your answers towards expensive watches, and if you really think about, what if you ask the average person what they think of as an iconic watch, I think they're going to think of either a Casio or a Timex. And actually, from a dress watch perspective, they might not even know a brand. They're just going to know a look, and it's just going to look like a regular round watch with a white dial with some batons, and that's it. I don't think they'll even know a brand other than Timex. Timex and Rolex, obviously.
Yeah, but you got to pick two because
For me, I don't even think Patek for a dress watch. I think when I think of luxury watches, and I think of them kind of similarly with to how like these hybrid definitions, I think it's the Rolex Datejust. In a way for both categories. You know, it's the Datejust as the performance watch and as the dress watch. It does both, and that's why that's the most iconic luxury watch of all time, because that's the one that provides you with the most flexibility. It's the one that everyone recognizes, whether it's with the fluted bezel or not. Just the look of the dial, the look of the bracelet. That's what it means to have a luxury watch.
Yeah, I mean, I can't argue that. I mean, if we're talking about the most iconic watch ever, the Datejust has sold the most units of any watch ever. So I don't think you could disagree.
Probably way outsells the Submariner. Submariner is definitely a very copied design, for sure.
So is the Datejust, though.
But so is the Datejust, right? So it's fun to argue about these definitions. I think the definitions are important because they define the way we define the categories is the way we define watch collecting for ourselves.
And if we change it, right? If we change it, what is the most prestigious sports and dress watch one can get? That's where I think Boston wants to go. Like,
because he wants to promote RM, but the reality is nobody knows what RM is. No one knows.
I'm going to go a different route. I think the two top watches on the earth, right? If you're talking about brand recognition and exclusivity, the two top watches on the earth is the Tiffany dial Patek 5711 and a piece unique Patek Philippe minute repeater.
You're getting pretty esoteric because I mean you could go Roger Smith or whatever, Daniel.
No, that doesn't
George Daniels and all these guys.
It doesn't mean the same.
Okay.
Patek Philippe means.
Okay.
Philippe has
okay. This is a real question. Okay. If you saw a watch, if you're looking at somebody's wrist and you see a watch on it, what is at the top?
The Tiffany dial 5711 to me is the top. That's
not the top though.
It is.
I'm talking the actual top that you're like.
The top is like a Philippe Dufour or one of those things, but that's not my particular style.
It's not. That's not a fair way to look at it. You have to go by people
I'll tell you what it is. I'll tell you what it is. You know what it actually is? To me, is like, I can't believe I'm seeing that watch. To me, it's like the yellow diamond billionaire from Jacob and Co. Like $17 million watch.
But that's not prestigious. That if you had 17 million, but if you had 20 million,
I'm saying, like, I don't care if you're wearing some grand chime. I don't care if you're wearing some, like, if this guy walks in the room with a $17 million billionaire.
Yeah, but that's only one person, Floyd Mayweather.
But it's not even that. If you have 20 million, he'll sell you the watch, right? What I'm talking about when he's talking about prestige, right?
Okay, I have another one that's up there with 5711. I have another one. The AP, one of those ones from the set. No, from the set.
You mean the gem
because it's a piece unique. Yeah, it's a piece unique. I'm just saying that's at the level of the Tiffany to me. Because, again, actually, that's hot. In a way, it's higher because, it's one set, right?
Yeah.
If it's real.
Right. But what does the list look like in competition for each one? I know that it's crazy, but if there's 1,000 people that said, listen, I have the 10 million to buy the set of 10, right?
Yeah.
For the 5711 Tiffany, there's 10,000 people.
Right.
So to me, as far as a sports watch goes, because we're going to throw it in there again, right? We're going to let it sit there as a sports watch. The craziest watch that I think you would see on someone's wrist and go, holy fuck, you're one of those guys that got that call, is the Tiffany dial 5711.
Okay. Guys, I have to go. You guys want to keep going? Feel free.
Okay.
Or do you want to end it? You
Yeah,
want
we'll
to
go
end
for a little bit. We'll
As soon as you get off, we're going to cover the election because.
Well, yeah.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
All right, I
He's
gotta
joking with
go. But
with you, right?
you can,
Yeah.
you guys
Don't
can
worry.
end it whenever you want. But
Okay.
have a great time tonight. I'm going to
Yeah.
be at Madison Square Garden at the David Gilmour concert. I'm not going to be paying attention
Nice.
to any election stuff. But
Yeah.
congratulations to everybody who's enjoying the election coverage, and
All right.
thanks for everybody for tuning into this to these channels. Upvote the streams and keep going with Boston and Buckley.
Thanks.
And I'll drop the link to join the panel, and it'll get much better without me. Peace out, guys. Have a great night.
Yep.
See you later.
All right, see ya.
Enjoy your concert.
Thanks.
Very brave going into
Yeah.
Madison Square Garden the night.
Yeah,
of-
don't be like OC and not vote tonight and go to a concert instead. Make sure you
Dude,
guys go out and vote.
I was supposed to be in Manhattan tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You don't want to do that.
No, I told him to cancel it. I'm staying away for at least 48 hours.
Jeff has a good point. The Rolex Le Mans. That's true. That's also up there.
Yeah, I mean,
We're
yeah.
desensitized though. There's too many people that have it.
There's 3 people that have them in our.
Sorry, Jeff.
Yeah.
No,
I mean,
it is. It is though. It is. But it's the top of Rolex. It's not the top of Patek. That's what we're talking. Top of Tiffany Patek, which is another level too. And so that's why that one has meaning. But I think that the 10 set of APs is up there too. Because I mean, who knows what that guy had to spend to get to that level of that.
8 figures.
Something
probably.
bad.
7 figures.
George Varghese. Hey, how's it going, George? He said he got the call to Cubitus, told her interested in the 5821 1A or the 5821 1AR. That's the two-tone? Yep. Don't really give a fuck what you think. Thank you, George.
Okay.
George is in that category of, yeah. Who cares?
Fine.
Who cares what you think?
I mean, I don't think it's a bad watch. I'm not gonna request one, but go ahead. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I'm solidly on the Aquanaut train because I think that I'll wear that more. And I already have a Nautilus, so yeah. Yep. I think we can all agree that the Cubitus is not the greatest watch, most iconic watch of all time.
No.
But that's okay. It's still a cool watch. I mean, it's still a nice watch. I get to try it on, and it's a really nice watch. I just think the proportions are a little bit not for me. But yeah.
Yeah. Good debate.
Jonathan Smith wants information.
What watch?
I hate these questions.
A lot of questions. What watch you own? What watch is fave? He has all the watches. What's the most expensive? Your AP has got to be the most expensive, right?
Yeah. My white ceramic AP Perpetual. Favorite? Oh, that's a loaded question.
No, it's got to be that too.
Yeah, I mean, I would say yes. Yeah, but I'll say this: if favorite is the most enjoyment you get out of it, the RM might be higher. Because when you're wearing that much money on your wrist, there's some level of like, I have to be super careful, that you don't have when you're wearing the RM. Although I guess I should have that same level, but somehow it doesn't feel like it's that expensive. I don't know. Like I think there's a two-edged sword on expensive watches. You definitely get enjoyment out of it, but then you have the expensive part of it to balance it. Like I'm not bringing the white AP Royal Oak like on vacation,
No.
putting in the hotel safe. Like, trip to New York is about as brave as I'll get.
Right.
But I'll say that the most comfortable watch by far is the RM now, with on the strap.
I believe
Super
that.
comfortable. Yeah, it's fun. I enjoy all the watches though. So yeah.
What the fuck is going on out? Do you hear that?
It's probably something related to the election or something.
It's been happening every like 20 minutes for 3 hours.
Oh really?
Yeah.
The sirens?
Yeah.
That sounded pretty bad, actually.
Who knows?
Look at this. Look at this, Jeff. My RM has already surpassed all my other watches for compliments. Gets a lot of attention.
It does. It's a cool watch. I tried it on. The only thing I would change is the strap. I'm not loving the strap, but the actual watch itself I think is awesome.
Oh, when he gets an orange, if he gets an orange strap on that, it's gonna be
Orange,
sick.
blue, black, gray,
Yeah,
white,
yeah.
all of it.
Yeah. You know what's funny? I give consolidation of the year to Jeff because
Yeah.
last year in the spring I talked to him. I was like, just sell a bunch of your stuff. Like, you're not wearing those and you can get an RM and you're just gonna your collection gets like like your you have your Tiffany Patek, and that's like at a whole nother level, right? And that's really like great for a collection to have that watch that's like at that top level, because what ends up happening is when you have like a bunch of watches flat, they're all the same. You're just like, it just doesn't feel special when you wear that big piece. And I think money wise, you should always have like a top, like reach for that top tier watch, and then have some other watches to fill in. And I think that Jeff has that right now.
Dude,
But
I have the worst offshore itch right now.
really?
It's so bad.
Did you try on MJ's?
No, I've had it for a while. So what
Oh yeah,
happened?
he didn't bring it.
I always have a rubber strap itch,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I never satisfy it because there's not a lot of great watches on rubber out there.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like I need an offshore. I feel like I need it. Like it's fucking pulling at me. If Patek told me like, we don't want to deal with you anymore, it would almost be a relief.
Wow.
So I can go and offshore.
This Stephen Adams guy is going hard. He's
What
going hard. I don't know, man. This is getting wild.
Let me read it. I own a HS and think your opinion is totally whack. Patek is unanimously the cheapest sports watch ever made, not to mention the design flaws. Let me guess, you wear a GMT too? I actually... Does he know who he's talking to, Boston?
No, he doesn't.
He has no idea.
I
am the Daytona king of New York.
I know.
You
should read the next one. It's even more wild.
Yeah, I know.
It's getting great. It's getting crazy.
Probably is better than every watch in your collection by far. Go ahead and throw anything that's not a date just into the garbage because that's where it belongs, or on a hobo's penis. You know, like I said, okay.
I love it. It's going hard.
I love the date
real
just.
hard. Doubling down on the date just. It's a bold move, Buckley.
I've done it. I've done it plenty of times, but
it's comical. Actually, I would say, I'm sorry, but my Polar Explorer 2 is better than Datejust for me. I like it better.
I want.
Yeah. It's super comfortable. It's light. It's the older models are just comfortable. I don't know. It's smaller size. It's great. It's a great watch. Goes with everything. Yeah. I don't need to dress. I don't dress up. You know.
I know. Me neither.
even I feel like what's happened is like our meetups have gotten less and less stressy. Have you noticed that?
Well, you know who's pioneering that? You know who gives less of a shit every time I see him? MJ. MJ went out on Saturday. People don't know. MJ on Saturday, he basically put on sweatpant jogger things. They're probably super expensive. They're probably like Xenia joggers or something crazy.
Mm-hmm.
He had on these lime green crazy socks. They were like compression socks, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the pants were kind of tucked into the socks. And then he had on a blue hoodie. I don't know if he had a t-shirt underneath. He might have been going fucking free under there. And a Vastron on a blue leather strap. And it kind of cool.
Kind of worked, right?
Yeah, he didn't care at all. Literally zero fucks.
No, I don't think that was like his intent necessarily, but he just went with it. Oh no, it's yeah. But I mean I use the Nautilus like a Submariner. I don't know. I wear that thing swimming. I wear that thing. You know, I don't know. It's a steel sports watch. It's comfortable.
Yeah, this this is becoming more and more of an issue. I'll show you.
What is going outside?
I'm telling you, it's fucking Civil War might have started, and I'm sitting here with you.
Yeah.
This is becoming an issue, Boston. You're muted. Super chat. Jilden, $2. $2. Sub equals #1 sport / Lux. Nautilus equals #1 athleisure. Athleisure? That's weird. That's a weird term. Athleisure. I don't know about that. I got to check and see if Civil War is happening outside right now. There's 2 of you.
Oh, what happened? There are 2 of me?
Wow, I'm looking at the polls right now. Holy shit.
All right, I'm back now.
There you go.
All right, sorry. I get a phone call and then it messes up. I have to refresh. It's so annoying.
I know, I hate that.
So you like this watch?
Oh, I love this watch.
This watch is sick.
Yeah.
This watch would look good with my Travis Scott's.
Well, with the offshore, I'm trying to find something that the only thing this watch is missing is a titanium case.
Mm. What is the case? Is it steel?
Yeah. But
No.
hard ceramic, so it makes it slightly lighter than the other steel versions, but not by much. Not by much. But this one, you got this strap, you got black. How do you think the red would look on this? Because technically it's all neutrals, right?
Yeah.
Red might work, right?
Depends on how much that it's taupe versus green. On MJ's, I think it's a little different tone to this one.
A little
I
black.
think you could go black for sure.
Black looks
You
great.
could probably go navy. Yeah, it's a little off.
I don't like that. The gray is cool.
Gray's cool, yeah. And I think that tan strap actually is interesting. But I don't like that on the offshore. Why would you do that?
No, I don't know why they even throw these.
Do like yeah, I would do like Alcantara or something. Strap on it.
Yeah.
I think you just wear this as an under the radar type of piece,
Yeah.
Wow, Steven Adams is going hard still. I don't know what happened. Maybe it's election day or something. Not sure. Can't stand the Royal Oak. Wow. Oh, it's not making a lot of sense though. That's the problem. So yeah, I mean, it's a cool watch. With these offshores, the best thing to do is get the ceramic bezel. I really like the one that has the gray bezel with the rose gold. That's a sick watch. The LeBron James.
Nah, I don't want that much of a. I want.
It's dressy though. It's like maybe too dressy.
Yeah,
With the
it's too
rose gold
much.
case.
It's too much. I don't want that. I just don't want that.
At this stage, I'd wait for the 150th stuff to come out.
That's what
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Yeah. When is that coming out?
As early as December next month.
Because if this watch was titanium,
Mm-hmm.
it would be a no-brainer.
Yeah, I would definitely want the titanium case. Mine's pretty sick. I actually was reaching for it, and then I decided to go with the code for dinner the other night. But
I have that picked out too.
Yeah.
There's two.
Yeah.
I gotta go up though. So many fucking watches. Dude, I would buy this one.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would do
a sick watch. It's a great night watch. This is a nighttime watch.
I would do crazy straps on this.
Yep.
Like shit that
you could do everything. Yeah. You could do pink on that.
I would buy a hot pink strap for this.
Yeah. That'd be sick.
Without question. And people will make fun of me, and then in person they'd be like, "Oh yeah, okay."
No, that works.
Purple.
Honestly, that's what's great about RM is that you can go crazy with the straps. Like,
yeah.
And they all look good, and the colors are just good. You can't go wrong with any of them.
This is a great watch. I wish this was steel instead of rose, but the rose probably pops really nice. 50 grand.
The new style pushers fall out of the Red's AP offshore chrono. No, he doesn't have a new one. He has an old junky one, I think. Athleisure.
This one's pretty sick too.
Yeah, the blue. Yeah,
the blue on blue.
I'm not a fan of the gray subdials, but or the gray subdial in the middle. I like the black one because it's just like
It does everything.
see, yeah, like if you think about like what you're going to use a watch for, some that's where it gets weird. Like, and that's kind of what I was telling it. I was trying to talk to with SE about the Cubitus. Is like you're going to want to wear that to dinner. You're going to want to wear that like, you know, in a dressy situation. So then you get this big thing and like, you know, it's cold out. You have it under a cuff. You're going to hide half of it, which is maybe a good thing on that. But I don't know. I just don't see that as a Miami watch, like walking around with this big square on. It's not a short sleeve shirt watch. And so you've got a huge watch that you're fitting under the cuff. That's why I think the size being smaller would help it. But I don't know.
This is a sick code.
Yes. It is sick. It is.
If you're a billionaire and you're playing the game with AP, you walk in day one and say, I want the fucking tourbillon code, and no problem. Or
I mean, I would be all over that watch, but I just, man, they're expensive. Like everything's expensive, so you have to pick and choose. Like,
or this one.
Yeah,
this is the best
watch. I like the rose gold version, but that's a beautiful watch.
It's gone.
Yeah,
discontinued.
Yeah, that green tourbillon too is sick. I don't know if you've seen a video of that one. Yeah,
I don't like the new one.
If you see the actual in person like video of that one with the green, it's got some kind of green stone dial. It's like, forget it.
Yeah, but I love this one. These are crazy. This dial in person is so insane. How much is this? 100? 110?
Yeah.
They're a lot.
I think European just sold one for 56.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But
oh my god.
Dress watches, potato. Whoever bought it is probably still happy, honestly, because they got some other crazy Royal Oaks, So
like this?
Yeah, like that.
All day.
I mean, AP just makes some crazy watches. I mean, if you look at people just gloss over, and they just scroll to the steel ones because these are impossible to get, but they make some nuts pieces.
But where
you put this next to a Patek 5990. I mean, even the rose gold blue dial, this thing is nuts. I mean,
but one thing I'll say, Boston, is very few people in our community have done Code, Offshore, and Royal Oak, right? So when you do all three and you break that $100,000 barrier, right? I'm not saying this watch is up, right? I'm not saying that you can talk about this watch, but I have a feeling it would seem to me that they open up the table to a lot more. And no one, I mean, you've done that, but a lot of people haven't done that. Like this one, maybe these, I don't know. Weird shit. We know they're not making ceramic anymore.
Yeah, that red one is that red jumbo. It's
Did they discontinue the chrono?
Which chrono?
The full yellow gold.
With the black dial?
No, with the jumbo dial. Oh no, here it is.
That one, yeah.
If I if I go to them, right? Let's say I bought that offshore chrono, and I bought a code chrono, and I bought a steel 3-hander, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would think that you can have a conversation about this.
Yeah.
Right?
I think so. It's hard to know. Sometimes things that you think are easy just aren't that easy.
But they have to take you somewhere next, right? The only place they can take you that you don't have is maybe a full rose gold Royal Oak.
Mm-hmm.
But beyond that, everything else is craziness. So I feel like they put you in that crazy category and say, you know, there's a level of crazy and then there's a level of crazy. And we're going to put you there. They have to. Looks like some shit got discontinued, though. There's some stuff missing, I feel like.
You can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Just making sure. I'm ordering pizza on my phone. I'm playing with fire here.
Ooh, this is my Royal Oak right here.
Oh, sick.
That's my steel 3-hander.
One second, I'm just ordering this. Sorry if I'm distracted. Won't be the first time.
No. I have nothing to talk about.
Do you want to talk about what's an iconic watch again?
Number all.
Not particularly. Not particularly. Oh my gosh. Do you quick question. Do you think that things are just going to continue as they are, as far as like how hard things are to get? I mean, I just feel like it's in this zone of you're not going to be able to get anything super desirable just handout. You got to kind of go through some type of process that's going to change a little bit as time goes on, but you know, they're pretty set in their way at this point. Like I don't see them budging on like, oh yeah, we're just going to give out Royal Oaks to everybody. That makes no sense to them. And I think they're going to give out Royal Oaks to some people as their first watch. But I mean, Patek, do you think they're going to shy off of this like 3 dress watch thing? I mean, it feels like they're already backtracking on that.
If I am able to get an Aquanaut as my next watch,
mm-hmm.
you know for sure things have loosened up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that would be very, very clear indication. I think with AP, based on going through Reddit of like people's AD stories, they've definitely loosened quite a bit. And if you come on a recommendation, you'll get the Royal Oak. But it's not what it was in 2022, 2021. That's for sure. I don't think they're going to keep doing what they're doing. If anything, they're going to have to clamp down on the production because the market's very, very saturated. And the price on the secondary to not have to deal with the BS is getting to a point where people are going to pull the trigger, I think. This watch, which is 28.6, it would cost me roughly 31 out the door. I can get this watch unworn for like 40, 38, 40 right now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a premium. It's like almost a 25% premium, but that's technically that's the same premium a sub has. So it's not that bad. A blue dial's worse. A blue dial's like 45. But if it keeps going the route it's going, the two are going to meet at some point. And I don't know how AP will handle that. Because you got to think, like, they killed the flipper. And that, it's a good thing, but it's also a bad thing. Because what are you flipping this watch for? Like, if Nashville's selling it unworn for 40, and
I
you're
don't
out,
think they. Who do you think killed the flipper? AP?
I think just the market in general, inflation killed the flipper, and saturation. Because people are not, they're not buying like they were.
I think what's happening with that is I think brands are loosening up, allowing their collectors to sell pieces. I think Patek is the strictest, and FP Journe on that. But I think that AP is kind of like, oh, you want to move something? No problem. Like they know that they know you're far enough down the line that you're going to buy something else from them. And I think that they're fine with you selling something at this point, as long as you're communicating with them. I don't know. That's just what I feel happening. And so you're still going to have I think the main collectors are buying more watches right now. And that's what's making it hard for new people to get in, because I think there's still like, I just see a lot of collectors buying,
The thing about AP though, the thing about AP is if you walk into AP House with an appointment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or one, if you go into either New York location, what's different now is they have watches available. Now, are they the most desirable watches? No, they're not. But if they feel like they can make something happen with you, unlike in 2021 where you had to wait, a year for an offshore, they may just pull the trigger that day or try to. I've had it happen twice. I mean, 3 times technically. Italy it happened, but I've had it happen twice in New York where they were like, "Yep, this one's available today." And that's very, very, very different. So the barrier entry to own an AP, not a Royal Oak, but to own an AP is way lower than it was.
Mm-hmm.
That might not be the case in Boston. In Boston, you guys have a very, very small store.
Right.
But here,
and I think what it is too, like, you have to be careful because, like you said, still you're probably gonna, at some point, to get to the best pieces, you're gonna have to buy an offshore and a code, right? And then some kind of steel Royal Oak probably, and then you can get either a gold piece or maybe the gold piece is the third piece, and then you get a steel piece, like that order mix up. But it's basically those 4, and then you're in the ballpark of like something kind of crazy, some kind of gold piece, some kind of steel piece, and then an offshore code. And then you get into like the realm of like, all right, so it takes a while to get through that process. That's 4 pieces too. It's no joke. You can hear me, right? Okay. Oh no. Did I kill it? Okay.
No, I heard you. I was just muted.
Okay. Yeah, no problem.
You know what the difference though? I think what you just said, code, offshore, Royal Oak, right?
Yeah.
That was 3 watches. It went code, then offshore, then Royal Oak. 3 watches, 3 years. About. That was kind of the path. Now I feel like it's code or offshore very fast. Like the first piece, 30 to 60 days. maybe 90 tops. Second piece, 6 months. And inside of 18 months, I think you can do all three.
Yep.
I think. So it's not as bad as it was. And I almost wouldn't mind doing it because I really like the offshore on the code. Patek snatched me up right now.
Right.
So, but
yeah,
whatever.
The problem for all these brands is that there's artificial barriers that you don't see coming. Like it's like, all right, I've checked all those boxes. Now I'm ready. It's like, well, okay, but there's now you've got, you're higher up the food chain, but it doesn't mean that the number of pieces gets really low, and you get a lot of people qualifying. So
yeah.
So that's where it gets tough. Like even oh, sorry, getting too much off. A guy like Jeff, has bought a lot of watch, and it's not so much that he won't get crazy. Okay, I'm good, right?
Yeah, no,
it's not so much that. Yeah, sorry. It's not so much that Jeff's not going to get a crazy watch. It's just like there's going to be a wait because like they just don't make a lot, and Boston has to get one, and he has to qualify, or he's going worldwide against people. That's what I'm up against now. Is you get to a certain level, and it's like worldwide allocation.
And the ceramic is
Right.
done for the time being.
Yeah, and that's why I bought the ceramic, because I always have that, and it's the same reason I bought the 5980. Is that I saw the path, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to go down that path all the way. And now it takes the pressure off to have to do it, and I can be more patient, and I can wait, and enjoy the piece, and no stress. I get no stress right now. Same with RM. Like, would it be great to have a Bubba Watson or a Nadal down the line? Sure, but like, it's a long journey to get to those pieces, and I don't feel pressured to go down that path right away. So just enjoy what I got.
Yeah.
It's all overkill. It's just how high do you really want to go? That's the big question. It's a big question. It's important.
Yeah, I worry about the offshore going out of trend, where it's not even about the watch. It's about the size and presence of the watch just being something that's looked very down upon in a few years. I don't know if it'll go that way, but I don't think AP will go that way. I think AP will stay as one of the top brands, but a 43 offshore by then might be a 40 offshore. And we know what happens when they make a watch better. It makes the other watches, fucking dog shit. I mean, some of the offshores from the mid 2000s are, pennies on the dollar, and they're
some of them are good values now, though. Some of the better examples.
Yeah, but the new ones are so much better. The new ones are so much better. So I worry about. I don't worry about that with Patek, because I don't think Patek's size is going to change much, or style. It's heirloomable watches. AP though, I worry about. I don't
worry about any of the top tier brands personally, because I just feel like they just can't ever make enough watches, and it feels like they need to keep a lot of them. I mean, we're talking about it's like 30 years of offshores. Like it's a lot of watches, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot of watches. 30 years of offshores. There might be 300,000 offshores out there.
But you got to remember, we're into right now, I think it's about 25 years of big watches.
Yeah. The problem for that watch is, again, you can't wear it with a dress shirt. But it's a luxury watch and you can't really like go diving with it. So it's kind of this casual in between area, and 35,000 is a lot for a casual in between watch, right? And that's some of the issue. Like then that's why you'll never have a problem with like a Royal Oak, because for what you're buying in steel, especially, you can wear it with a dress shirt, you can wear it casual, and it'll never like not fit into a category. Say things get even more dressy, a jumbo Royal Oak's never gonna like not be dressy enough. It just, you know, they just make them in a way that it's always going to be there. So
I would wear an offshore with a dress shirt.
oh yeah,
I wouldn't wear, so my version of a dress shirt would be something that's untuckable, right?
mm-hmm.
And I think you can do it. It's when you, like, America would have a very hard time with the offshore. You know, he's in a financial environment. He's got khaki pants and a gingham shirt tucked in. It definitely doesn't call for really any AP. It's very Submariner.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the offshore and vineyard vines don't mix well.
Right.
It's not what it's there for. But I really like that new category that you were talking about.
Yeah.
That's
performance.
I love that category.
I'm telling you, the more I have the Richard Mille, the more it grows on me. It's just, I don't know. It just, it's super comfortable. I can see everything moving in the dial. Like the skeletonized thing is just a cool complication, I guess you'd call it. But, and I don't know, there's just something about having some performance thing on your wrist. I don't know. Different feeling.
I get it. I want to be part of it. I have an itch to be part of it lately, big time. But I got to be patient.
That's a whole. That's a whole. I know, and you know, even for me, like I need to definitely consolidate at this point, because I've kind of just, you know, I've gotten higher level pieces, and now it's time to get rid of some of the stuff that's not going to happen. But
you have too many Rolex. That's the problem.
Yeah.
I think that's a big thing. People that have 10 Rolex should have 3.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you should really go over 3 or 4 Rolex. It's too much.
Right.
It's way too much. I mean, if you're doing day Daytona, you have the whole thing covered. Sub in there, day sub Daytona, you have it. You don't need to do anything else. You got it. Move on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Explorer 2 maybe instead of the sub.
Yeah, but I'm just gonna keep the Explorer 2, I think. To be honest, I might get rid of every other Rolex.
I wouldn't get rid of your John Mayer. Don't get rid of your John Mayer.
I think I might.
No, that thing long term is gonna be. Don't get rid of that watch. It's a yellow gold Daytona. It's special. Get rid of the Meteorite Pepsi.
I know.
What?
I said I just don't. I don't see with what I've got coming. See myself wearing it.
What do you have in solid yellow gold?
Sorry. Sorry, I'm gonna be cutting in and out for a second.
Yeah, you are. You don't have the only solid yellow gold watch you have is the John Mayer, right?
Solid yellow gold. Well, technically no, but I don't wear the other ones either.
I think a solid yellow gold Rolex is necessary.
I have the Carnelian Day.
Yeah, get rid of that.
I've got the vintage Day. But my wife wears it. Yeah.
Don't get rid of the John Mayer. Get rid of the Meteorite and get rid of the Cornelian. You don't need that shit.
Yeah. Daytona. A lot of choices.
Passing the baton to people in the crowd. Diego M. Or someone like
solid yellow gold. Solid yellow gold. Yeah, I don't really. I guess I've got the two-tone code, but I mean, it's always tempting to just like buy the pieces for the end game and just be done with it. But then, what's the fun in that? You know?
Yeah. Keep the John Mayer. Get rid of the other shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Get rid of the old stuff. The yellow vintage two-tone GMT group.
Yeah. Get rid of all that vintage shit. Get rid of the Meteorite GMT. The John Mayer yellow gold is going to be a thing forever because it's a yellow gold Daytona, which is already a thing. So keep that.
Yeah.
When you feel like wearing solid yellow gold in a modern watch, there's no other brand that does yellow gold like Rolex. So I would keep that. I would not get rid of that. Get rid of the other shit.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna have a problem with. I'm gonna have like every sports watch by next year. This time, I have a feeling. You know.
No, I don't know because I'm not on the list for any of them.
Well, I'll probably have an Aquanaut. That's next, and then a black Elegant, black dial. Probably have that. You know, and then probably some crazy RM. And then an AP 150th. So I got a lot of watches coming. I got to clear out. It's stupid. Yeah. I could literally sell every watch, and what I'll probably buy in the next year is enough for a whole collection. So it's complete overkill.
Looks like Jeff is on the RM train hard now.
Yeah, I knew he would be.
Yeah, it goes with the Ferrari.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. It's just that's next level stuff.
I like the 7201.
I mean, Jeff's done with Rolex. Can we
He got a Le Mans. He won. There's nothing
he's
else to
done.
buy.
Yeah, there's
If you
nothing
get a Le
more. I
Mans,
mean, like he got the Pepsi after, and I'm like,
I know he got the Pepsi. I was like, why?
You gotta take it.
Why?
You gotta take it.
Yeah, but why?
You gotta check the box. You gotta check the box.
He's gonna get rid of that shit.
He'll wear it for a little bit. Kind of.
What's going on with these polls?
Yes, Diego, I'm earning the Aquanaut. Absolutely. I know exactly how to earn an Aquanaut. Pepsi's a nice beater. Yeah, Jeff, you get a lot of beaters now. Your Platona's a beater.
All right, I'm gonna hop off and end this stream. Austin's getting in and out because pizza maybe. I don't know what he's doing, but I am going to end the stream unless someone hops on in the next 30 seconds.
Hey. Sorry.
I'm gonna end.
You're gonna end it? Okay, sounds good. Yeah. Everybody enjoy your evening. Stay safe out there. Enjoy. Thanks for stopping by. Give a like and a subscribe if you haven't. And we'll catch you next time.
We'll have a new president on the next stream.
Maybe.
Take care.
Bye.